Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome once again to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon, Aaron Maxon, and Kyle Army, the whole Three Stooges, are here with you on this week's show. And like I apologized for last week, I'm sorry. I know I'm, as Aaron said, I'm like Lee Marshall with the Road Report on WCW Monday Nitro. Sound like I'm on the phone, but I'm waiting on my new mic to show up. But until then, we're going to use this shitty one. But welcome to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We're glad to have you back on the show, Mr. Kyle.
I'm glad. You know, this past week has been like the famous Charles Dickens book, A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Well, you're not wrong. I know, Aaron. You said you haven't watched it. Got to watch any of the modern product yet this week, but
yeah, and I'll let you guys discuss some of that. And if what I've seen, I'll comment on, or if I haven't seen it, I'll comment it on anyway.
I'm not gonna get it. I wasn't gonna get into like a bunch of specifics about storylines and shit anyway. That wasn't.
That's fine.
But
I mean,
I know you did watch NWA Power.
And it was fucking amazing.
That is awesome. Have you watched it yet, Kyle?
Yes, I did.
And is it or is it not like the best thing in wrestling right now?
Oh, it absolutely. I heard you guys, talking about how great it was. I was like, you know what? For you guys both to be, raving this much, I have to go check it out. It's only an hour.
Mm-hmm. Hey, ain't that great?
Oh my god! It's on YouTube.
It's 1 hour, okay? It's 1 hour. And guess what else? Guess what else?
People cut real promos? I mean...
Not even that. It's 1 hour, and guess what else? There's only 2 commentators. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. Who would have thought that would have worked?
And like I said, or improvised organic promos like they should be. And I don't know, I got a bit of nostalgia when I saw the belt on the desk. It just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was cool
and
as fuck.
When they're talking about the 10 pounds of gold.
Yes.
And you see that belt that fucking Harley Race has worn, Ric Flair's worn, it brings a smile to your face.
Did that ring apron not look sharp? You know what I mean? Like the whole thing, it looked great.
My main concern with it was that I was hoping it wasn't going to be like when WWE, like when they wanted to like do their, and I'm not knocking the WWE, but like they had like Vince come out in his like WWF blazer and all that,
Yeah.
I was worried that they were going to be like, try to be like too nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
To where it became like hokey.
Have them wear like 70s suits or something.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. But they did the scaled back version, but did it modernized.
It's like
so I was like, okay.
It's like I said. It's like the best of old with a big splash of new, and just I mean it proves that in the modern environment with HD cameras and the way the wrestling scene is and everything, you can still do a good studio wrestling show.
Like, I was really worried that they were going to have, like, a Nick Aldis or somebody come out in, like a 1980s, like, purple Ric Flair suit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't. He came out in a suit, but he came out in a suit that somebody would wear now.
Well, in the same kind of suit he's been wearing since he won the title. I mean, they didn't change anything about him. The only negative, there's 2 negatives about the show for me. 1, they did have a little audio problems, whatever. That's something you figure out. 2, I'm actually kind of sad they changed the Josephus character because I liked the character the way it was. I was a fan of that character when he was feuding with Tim Storm over the belt last year, or earlier this year, or whenever it was. But other than that, I really have no criticisms of it.
What are they? I didn't watch the 10 pounds of gold.
His character was it wasn't Bray Wyatt, but it was a Bray Wyatt-ish kind of character, like a cult leader kind of character. That kind of a thing. But now he's just guy in black tights. And not that that's bad. I mean, he's fine, but I liked his character before that.
And maybe. So did he have like cronies with him and stuff?
No, he actually had a leader. Like he had a spiritual advisor that was a lady that was his leader. But
well, yeah, and see, maybe they're doing something smart in the fact that they might be attracting new, like going like, hey, we're going to do this hour show now instead of doing like little 15-minute YouTube clips.
Right.
Maybe they're smart enough to realize a lot of people weren't watching that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start this Josephus, or Josephus. Yeah, I can't say his name.
Josephus.
Josephus, and maybe they'll get back to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if this guy just shows up all of a sudden, he's got some cult leader lady with him. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?" And now you gotta be like, "Well, he met this chick," and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas that's one of the problems with AEW is they just assume everybody knows who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody knows who these people are.
You know what the greatest thing about NWA Power was? And when you watch it, you're like, oh my God, it's amazing. There's not 15 billion cuts where they're trying to intensify the action by zooming in and zooming out.
Right.
They're just like, here it is. This is what it is. Fucking enjoy it.
Match in the ring. Let's go.
I will say, in my personal opinion, NXT has been fucking brilliant the last 2 weeks since the whole Wednesday Night Wars started.
Well, I got three things about NWA, and then I'll let you guys talk about NXT.
Yeah, go ahead.
I still got to catch up on NXT, and I watched the first episode of AEW. I'm in the middle of watching the second episode. One of them is there was a guy on there, and his name was Caleb Connolly, and he lost his match. And remind me who he wrestled. Sorry. You're not going to remind me because you don't remember.
I don't remember who he wrestled. Yeah, I don't remember.
I'll look it up. But this Caleb Connolly guy, I liked him. I thought he had a good look. Another thought I had was, and I know I said I didn't want it to try to be like the old NWA and everything, and I liked this guy from what I saw of him on Impact. But Eli Drake has the potential to be like, if you look at the old NWA, he has the potential to be like their Tully Blanchard, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just this shit heel, and there's not anything like redeemable about him, and like, because Nate, I know you're not like as big of a Tully Blanchard fan as I am, but he was like, he's a true heel. Like Tully was always a true heel. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, he never gave you nothing to love.
No, and he was just always just a shit heel, and that's what I really think Eli Drake has potential for. And then the other thing, and Nate'll know I'm not blowing smoke on this, is I think that the WWE dropped the ball on James Storm.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a huge James Storm fan.
It was funny. It was cool that like Josephus was calling for Storm, but that wasn't the Storm he was calling for. And then James Storm came out. I thought that was a neat little thing they did. Yeah,
and a little Eric Idle like wrestling commercial was funny.
And then you got me thinking about it when you mentioned James Storm. The James Storm Josephus thing was cool because that was like Memphis. Like they fought all over the studio.
Yeah.
Like they went over by the crowd, and then they fought over in this corner, and they fought over in that corner. It was like, damn, that's like Memphis. I love it. So yeah, definitely. And then I know you said Tim Storm reminded you of Paul Orndorff.
Yeah, just like, And I know it's not the same type of wrestler or whatever, but he cut a pro, like when he talks and stuff, he sounds like he reminds me of Paul Orndorff.
Mm-hmm. I can see it. When I didn't see it before you said it, and then now that you said it, I definitely can see that.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's what you want. You don't want somebody that's like where it's an obvious ripoff.
That's
right.
I'm dumb. That's who Eli Drake wrestled before his promo was that, or after his promo was that Caleb Connolly guy. Okay. Eli beat him, obviously, but that guy had a good look to me, and I think that he's somebody that eventually they could do something with. And it's the first episode, but I'll tell you this: it's the first episode of a wrestling show where I was like, I don't need to give this a month to decide if I'm going to like it.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Like, I watched AEW, and I was like, this was a good show, but I have a feeling there's going to be a couple where they upset me. Mm-hmm. You know? They haven't done it so far, and I'm 42 minutes into this show, but I'm sure there's going to be something on this show that I don't like, and I'm sure there's going to be something on NXT that I don't like, but I didn't see anything on NWA Power that I did not like.
Right. Kyle,
you should talk about NXT now. That's fine.
Kyle, you brought up NXT, and I will say this: although NWA Power is probably this week my favorite show that I watched from this week, NXT the past 2 weeks. I mean, normally, but the past 2 weeks especially, they've definitely been the best in-ring show.
Oh, man. I mean, it's not even...
I mean, the match of the week, or the match of the best match of the past 2 months has probably been, of any organization, has probably been Matt Riddle and Adam Cole.
Yeah. Well, and then just this past week, Walter versus... Kushida. Holy shit! You want to talk about a good match? Like, I mean, but not even just that. But the fact is like they brought fucking Finn Balor down.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, here's Finn Balor, and he's NXT now."
Well, with the first show, Finn Balor, and what a perfect time to bring back Ciampa.
Yep.
You know, and
so now you have 3 guys that are, it's all revolving around like the world title,
right?
And it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I like the what do I want to say? I like the pacing of the show. None of the matches are too god awful long. Because, I mean, I love a good wrestling match, but, like, I'm going to use Raw as an example, and I know why it happens. It's because it's 3 fucking hours long. But they will have matches on there that could be really, 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 really good matches if they would cut 7 fucking minutes off of them. You know what I mean? God damn, this match is long. And
it's almost silly because it's like the matches that you think should have the time to go, they're cut short.
Yeah.
And then the matches that it's like... I don't need to see Sami Zayn versus fucking, I don't know, fucking...
Adam Cole and Matt Riddle gave me one of the best matches I've seen all year, and they did it in 14 minutes. Perfect.
Yep.
They didn't go 35 fucking minutes, 4 commercial breaks. You know, I mean, and you go through so many commercial breaks, and granted, I just watch internet. I have Hulu, Netflix, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have to deal with a lot of commercials except on Hulu. But, like, if I'm watching Raw... and some match is like 30 minutes long, every single time they take a commercial break, it takes me out of the match.
Yep.
And they just run it. They'll run a match through like 2 or 3 commercial breaks, and it's like, well, hell, I can't stay invested in this fucking match. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Well, you always know when it's coming too, because they'll throw on a fucking headlock.
Yeah.
Or just be like, all right, fans, we'll be right back after this. And it's like, all right, when they come back, the heel's going to have the advantage.
Well, if the match is only 10 minutes long, when do they give people time to do their... This is awesome. This is awesome.
And as far as...
You know...
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
No, go ahead, because we're still talking about...
I was just going to say, the commentary team on NXT is doing a really good job too, even though sometimes Morrow kind of shoots in his shorts a little too much. He's still really good. Nigel McGuinness is a fantastic color commentator. And you know what? Surprisingly, to me, Beth Phoenix adds a lot to the team. Like when she first started commentate, when they first showed her that she was going to be on the commentating team, I was like, fuck. She's actually not too bad. She's actually, I think she's better than what's her name?
Renee Young.
Renee Young.
Yeah. Like, I want to go to a wrestling show, and you know what I want to start? I want to be like, this is okay.
Oh, but you know what's not okay?
That was decent.
And you know what wasn't decent? And I'm sure wrestling everybody, all our fans have already heard everything about it, but I don't think we've had a chance to talk about it. But how in the fuck does WWE, in the biggest 2-3 weeks that they could have possibly ever had, provide WrestleMania, fuck everything up?
See,
I mean, royally fuck it up to the point where you promote that, oh, Steve Austin's going to be on SmackDown, and Sting's going to be there, and Hogan's going to be. Then they don't show up.
And that's what I was about to say. The big, and I'll get back to the next thing in a minute. But you brought this up, so I'm just going to talk about it now. The biggest miss of the past 2 weeks is the biggest move. You would think that the move to Fridays on Fox for SmackDown would be the biggest thing in the world, but it's the biggest miss. But I almost saw this coming, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? Hear me out. I said this a long time ago, back when they announced that they were going to Fox, and back when I have been saying for 2 years, and I know you guys are probably thinking, he's wrong because it's been 2 years. Eventually, Vince McMahon's selling this company, probably to a big company like Fox or Disney. But the move to Fox is a great thing for WWE as a publicly traded company. The move to Fox is not a great thing if you want to see real... Go back to what we love about wrestling, because it is now part of Fox Sports. It is now part of that conglomerate. And what you're going to get is Vince McMahon saying, look, Fox executives, Cain Velasquez, he's mainstream. That's what you're going to get. And you know what, though? I don't think the Cain Velasquez thing is a bad thing. I'm not saying that. I'm not shitting on that. But you are going to get a lot. You think shit was sanitized before. SmackDown is going to be very sanitized now. I promise you.
I thought of this analogy, and you can tell me if I'm stupid, okay? The WWF is McDonald's. WWE is McDonald's. Okay? You're McDonald's. And there's this McDonald's, and it's sitting there, and it's just raking in the money. And now there's a food truck. They're selling burgers, and everybody's like, man, these burgers are great. You know, these burgers are delicious. And then there's this little mom and pop burger joint that they're selling their burgers, and they're really good. Like, you know, they get their meat, they get their burgers from the local butcher, like right there. And there's people that are going to these local mom and pops, and they like them. But McDonald's doesn't look at that as competition because people are still lining up around the block, okay, to get these form-fitted, pre-made burgers that are cheap and they're quick and they're easy to digest.
And guess what?
Okay?
And
guess what? They know the mom and pop are over there, so they'll have a couple little burgers that you might like that are a little different,
bistro style.
Like oh, we'll have the burger you might like that's a little different than the Big Mac.
The Diablo burger with a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Like we'll have that burger, but we're gonna put it down at the bottom of the menu because all we want you to look at is the Big Mac. You know. So then the main mass group of people are like, I want Big Mac, I want Big Mac. And then there's a couple people that are like, I'll take that international burger that you got on the menu because they do have an international menu. I'll take that because it's delicious and I like it and it tastes different. Where other people are like, why the fuck are you eating that? Have you never had a Big Mac? Does that make sense?
Yes, because even though the mom and pop burger shop has a better burger, NASCAR is putting McDonald's on their car.
Yeah, and even though the mom and pop shop have a better burger, it might cost you $5 to eat it. But you can go and get 4 of the McDonald's burgers for $5.
Yes.
We damn sure for $9.99 you get fucking 15 matches in 7 hours on WrestleMania.
And the mom and pop burgers are tasty, but they'll never be able to compete financially. Never. And that's what I hope AEW, NWA, MLW, that's what I hope these guys know.
Well, and that was my next thing. I know we're only 2 weeks in, okay? I know we're only 2 weeks in. And I'm not saying that their show is bad, and I'm not saying that. I mean, I want the competition. We're wrestling fans. We want the competition because that makes everybody better. That gives us all more to choose from, et cetera, et cetera. And I know they're only 2 weeks in, but AEW. I don't want to use the word overrated. I don't want to use that word. Their show their show isn't a bad show, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with anybody listening that has a big fat fucking heart on for AEW. I've watched both of their shows so far, and it reads like another WWE brand. It's not. They're not doing anything to differentiate themselves. They'll say we have really good matches. Well, you know what? WWE has really good fucking matches too. You know what I mean? Seth Rollins and Randy Orton have a really good fucking match. That's not the point. But, I mean, AEW has not done anything yet, to me, to differentiate themselves from general wrestling product. There's a faction. Okay, there's a heel faction that beats up all the baby faces at the end of the show, both weeks in a row. Hey, cool. I'm not hating on it, but you're not shaking up the world because the NWO did that 20 years ago. Evolution did that 13 years ago. Or whatever.
Well, it's a staple. It's a staple of wrestling that you.
I understand, and again, I'm not hating on it. I'm not, but it's not this second coming of Christ thing that some of these people are making it out to be. I think they like it, and I understand why they like it. And again, I'm not hating on it, but it is not. I don't. Booking the way they're booking now, I don't see it having staying power, and that's bad.
Look, in my personal opinion, it's my opinion, and if our fans listening disagree with it, I completely understand. But to me, when everyone's like, "Oh, AEW wins and losses, they mean something, and we're going to change professional wrestling," and I have seen a fucking guy pour fucking shit all over himself to get out of a fucking hold. I saw last week a motherfucker skateboard down the goddamn ramp.
They hated that when Johnny Ace did it. Oh, wait, he didn't skateboard. He just ran down the ramp.
No, he had fallen off. But like I said, the problem is that
there are things, honest to God, there are things that I have seen on that show that if WWE did it, people would bitch about it. Being honest, that there are things that I've seen on that show where they would, just like the I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that stuck out in my mind when I was watching.
Perfect example. If it had been WWE and fucking Baron Corbin or fucking Bobby Lashley come out and cut the promo that Chris Jericho cut with his group of lackeys, everyone been like, "Oh fuck,
another faction."
My God. Oh God, here we are, fucking spending 10 minutes fucking cutting promos instead of wrestling. But because it's Chris Jericho and he drinks the bubbly.
A little bit of bubbly. Which is funny, by the way. I say it all the time. But anyway.
No, it is. Like, don't get me wrong. Chris Jericho's an entertaining motherfucker. I mean, he really is. But that's the problem. It's that people are going to sit there and they're going to be like, well, you know, that was really good promo. Instead of looking at it like, no, fuck Jericho, he's a prick.
And I dare someone, please, to tell me, after all the hooting and hollering that he did when he left the WWE, anything that Jon Moxley has done differently in AEW that he didn't do in the WWE as Dean Ambrose. What I mean, I thought the thing, Aaron. I know you haven't watched the whole show yet. Have you gotten to the Moxley match yet?
No.
Well, spoiler if you want to not listen, but they have a segment they have a thing at the end of the show of his match. He at the end of his match, Omega comes out, and Omega's got a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire and a broom mat.
Yeah, I read about that. I heard about it.
It's silliness. And it's silliness. It's wrestling silliness. It is what it is. But that's no different than something WWE wouldn't have done. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I don't know. I'm not trying to be down on AEW. I'm trying to say I don't think that it has been this earth-shattering thing that it's being made out to be. I guess.
The first person, like everybody's talking about.
You talk about shaking up the wrestling world. Billy Corgan shook it up. less people notice, but.
Like people are talking about like who's going to be the next guy to jump from like WWE to AEW. I can't wait for that little Sammy Guevara guy to jump to the WWE. And you know why?
Why?
Because like his first night in, I want him to I want him to hype him for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sammy Guevara is coming to the WWE. Sammy Guevara is coming to the WWE. And then he comes out because I'm going to preface this by saying I like Sammy Guevara. I think he's a cocky little shit heel. I like it. Okay, so they hype him for like 3 or 4 weeks, and he finally comes out and he's got like his panda suit on, you know. And Vince McMahon comes out and just clocks him in the back of the head with a chair so he can get his 2002 loss back.
What the fuck? What was that kid's name? Zach Gowen?
Yeah.
Jesus.
You went a long.
No, you get the joke.
You have crossed many miles of desert to get to the point of this joke, my friend.
You get it?
Yes.
What's the joke?
Well, I thought you were comparing that he looked like Zach Gowen.
No.
Oh.
In 2002, Vince McMahon and the WWE lost to the World Wildlife Fund.
Oh shit!
And their logo is a panda.
I didn't have the visual in my head. I'm sorry of the panda. I missed that skipped by me. I guess I was thinking of a runty looking little guy beating Vince McMahon.
No. The panda beat Vince, and now Vince beats the panda.
Oh, fucking, he would too.
Damn it, that was a good joke.
And man. It was 2 jokes. You're welcome.
And then
I wasn't thinking about the fucking peg leg guy.
Well, and our fans would be remiss if we didn't at least talk about it. The fucking Hell in a Cell debacle. Now, for all intents and purposes, I had not watched Hell in a Cell until later that night, and Nate put a fucking post out. Didn't reveal what happened. He just said,
"I don't like to put spoilers."
Yeah, he just said that was a shit finish. So going into it, I'm like, well, like why? Why was that a shit finish? I was like, it couldn't have been that bad. Maybe Nate was having a bad night. Like maybe he just, you know.
I was like, after 9 tacos, that was a shit finish.
And God, I watched it, and holy shit! Like nothing could have prepared me for that.
The pay-per-view itself was a marginal pay-per-view, which usually pay-per-views are. I wasn't expecting a great show. It was decent. The show was decent. And until the fucking clown show shit started in the last, 7 minutes of that match, the match wasn't a bad match either. That was a shit finish. Like, that is one of the worst finishes in the history of that company. Ever.
I couldn't believe it. I really and truly could not fucking believe it.
You know, the worst part about it is it was easily avoidable. They painted themselves into a corner with that match. I said the minute they gave the shot to him, to the Fiend at Hell in a Cell, they're jumping the gun on the Fiend. They're jumping the gun on this character. And then you get to the match and you're like, well, what the fuck do? We don't want him to beat Seth, but we can't let the Fiend be defeated yet. Well, you painted yourself in a fucking corner.
Why couldn't they revert? Why didn't the Fiend fucking bury? If they were going to go with that finish, then they should have put Seth underneath all that shit and had the Fiend be the one to fucking push it too far.
And then the worst part was they tried to push it at the end of the match, like, oh, this Fiend character. I saw the story they were trying to tell, although they told it stupidly. They were trying to tell the story of this Fiend character's finally pushed Seth Rollins over the edge. And then, come Monday night, they don't even fucking follow up on it. I know it was because they thought the crowd was going to shit on it. You can turn the crowd down. You've done it before. Just fucking, if you're going to go balls deep and get it done. Yeah, so you do this stupid shit the night before to try to tell this story, and then the night after you don't even follow up with it.
At least when they did it to John Cena, like, at least Bray had like choruses of little children in sheet masks. Like, it was a fucking, at least it was like a couple weeks build to like Cena being like, oh, this guy's pushed me to the edge.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just like I said, the match wasn't bad. The pay-per-view wasn't terrible, but that finish ruined it. That finish ruined the entire pay-per-view. It was awful. It was like that fucking... Aaron will probably remember which pay-per-view it was. Remember when they did that non-finish with Taker and Lesnar in like 03 or 04?
Maybe.
When they went through the stage or whatever, and it was at Unforgiven, I think. I'll have to look it up, but it was just such a letdown, and that's the way this finish came off. It was such a letdown, and it was creatively stupid, and like I said, they painted themselves into the fucking corner, and they did not find an easy way out, because that's and it sucks too, because I love that character, and now it's going to be all fucked up. just fuck it up. Go ahead. Just why not? You did something good. Fuck it up.
And that's the sad part about it.
That's the story of the past 10 years with that company. You know, they give you something really good, and then they fuck it up. Anyway.
But okay, and real quick, we got to get to the our questions stuff, because I know we got some fans that asked some pretty cool questions here. But I understand the point of Cain Velasquez. I understand the point. I understand all that. Why the fuck are they pushing this like for fucking Crown Jewel?
I know Crown Jewel's like a bigger deal to them than WrestleMania now.
Yeah, like what the fuck? And not even just that, but then this what's this other guy, Tyson
Fury,
and Braun Strowman. That's like a WrestleMania match, and they're just like, fuck it. We got to give the fucking Saudis.
We're gonna give it to our Saudi blood money brothers.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I'll never see it.
Yeah. What? And that was the thing. It's like.
And I really, honest to God, I think that they're going to do some, just real quick, and then we'll take a break. But I think they're going to do something screwy with this Lesnar-Cain Velasquez match this time. But I really do think Cain Velasquez is going to come out of this thing WWE champion. I think that's where this is going. I think that, again, I think Fox wants him to be the champion. And I think that's what's going down. I don't know if it's going down at Crown Jewel or not. I don't know if it's going to, there's something's going to happen there that prolongs the feud. or what. But I think that by the end of the year, he's going to be the WWE champion.
Well, okay, real quick.
They just signed him to a big fucking money contract.
Before we go to the break, I was excited. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, they're going to have Team Flair versus Team Hogan for Survivor Series. What a brilliant idea. Like, they're actually going to have, like, a fucking reason for Survivor Series. Nope. We're going to fucking do it at Crown Jewel.
Team Flair and Team Hogan. Women aren't allowed to watch it.
I was like, what are we doing, guys?
That's why Flair dropped his lawsuit. Saudi money, baby. Woo! All right. Well, let's take a break, guys. And when we come back, we'll get to the meat of the show this week, which is questions. We are going to ask each other some questions. I also posted earlier in the evening on Facebook for the opportunity for listeners to ask some questions, too, and we do have a few of those. So when we return with more of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, we will get to that.
And there's some pretty smart questions, too.
Yes, sir. Right after this.
I will give them.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Time for all of us hosts to issue some questions to each other. Should result in some really good conversation here. But before we do that, I want to remind you, you can join our Facebook group. Feel free. The We Can't Wrestle podcast Facebook group, and you can like our Facebook page as well. But if you join the Facebook group, we have conversations on there. We have funny memes on there, and you can participate in the show, which we're going to do right now. Before we pose questions to each other, you, the fans, are the star. Let's go to some fan questions here. The first one...
Real quick, what the fuck is a Billie Eilish?
Billie, I don't know. I'm 41.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pop culture is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's fucking... Is this something that you can clear up?
Is this one of your questions, Kyle?
Is this something that you can clear up with
with a cream?
with topical ointment or something like?
I have no idea what a Billie Eilish is. I'm gonna have to research that.
Fucking idea what you're talking about.
None of us do, Aaron. So don't worry, you're not alone here.
I was watching Saturday Night Live and they had Billie Eilish on there. And she's a singer, and it's fucking horrible. It's god awful.
Let's dissect
Billie Eilish. All right.
Let's dissect the problem with the sentence that you just said. I was watching Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're watching it like on Netflix. And it's any season before, like, maybe 1999. The fuck are you doing?
I'm bored. Lonely.
Fucking go kill rats in the alley or something. Don't watch Saturday Night Live. It was some questions.
All right. Listeners, we're going to go with a listener question first. I'll let you two answer before me. Listener Nick Francis would like to know, what if there was never a Stone Cold Steve Austin? Would the Attitude Era have been as popular?
It would have been unwatchable. Because without Steve Austin and the whole Mr. McMahon thing, all you would have had was Vince Russo's fucking miscarriage and pudding matches and...
Now, to that, though, I will say there would still be a Rock. There would still be The Rock and Mick Foley. But, I mean, I know what you're saying, because McMahon Austin occupied so much of the program. So you would have had so much more, like, beaver cleavage type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if you go back and watch, I mean, honestly, if you go back and, I hate to say it, because at the time I thought I loved it, but if you go back and watch the Attitude Era, it is actually like 70% boring. Like, a lot of it's really boring. I don't know. To me, it is now.
Oh,
Then
what I put.
You see fucking Hawk getting thrown off the Titantron because he has an addiction problem. It's like, do I really need to fucking see this?
What I put, if you guys care, is that first things first, if you're looking at when Steve Austin became Steve Austin, okay, and started like evolving.
Hold on, before you say that, Aaron, real quick, I want to throw this in here because Nick's question can be plausible. It can be very plausible because
Steve broke his neck.
Exactly. Before the Attitude Era started, there was a possibility he was never going to be able to wrestle again. So this was a distinct possibility.
So stop trying to scoop my heat.
Trying to scoop my heat.
Scooped.
But anyway, I was going to say that.
Blow my brains out. That's what I've been doing for months.
Because if there wouldn't have been a Steve Austin, okay, there still might have been an Attitude Era, or there still would have been an Attitude Era. It would have looked a lot different. There wouldn't have been the Mr. McMahon character. And I do believe that eventually, and I know this is going to sound insane, but in the wrestling business, The Rock would have been even bigger than he was. Because if you don't have Steve Austin, there's nobody else that can touch Dwayne Johnson. Right. Okay? From what he eventually became. You would have seen also, I do believe this, you would have seen Ken Shamrock as the WWF champion.
They were headed that way.
Because before Steve caught on fire, and before they realized, oh shit, Steve Austin is going to be something, they were going with Ken Shamrock. Mm-hmm. So there would have been an Attitude Era, but it would have been a lot different. Yeah, like,
do you think that
the Rock Stone Cold like trilogy and that feud would have been The Rock and Ken Shamrock?
Do you think that if Austin hadn't blown up, and you remember when Ken Shamrock challenged Mike Tyson, do you think we would have seen Tyson versus Shamrock at WrestleMania?
I think I don't know if you would have seen Mike Tyson versus Ken Shamrock, but you would have probably seen The Rock versus Ken Shamrock with Mike Tyson as the ref.
I think you would have seen Michaels and Shamrock with Tyson as the ref.
That's possible too. I mean, but Ken Shamrock, if there was no Stone Cold Steve Austin, people would talk about Ken Shamrock a lot different than what they do now. Other than
I wonder if Get Out of My Way T-shirts would have sold as well as Austin 316 T-shirts.
Or what about the fact that, like, supposedly that Owen Hart was set for like a major title run with Michaels? You imagine fucking Owen versus Shawn
with Shamrock. Well, and if they would have went with Shamrock as the top guy, like Aaron's saying, you may have seen an Owen thing, because I don't think Shamrock would have been able to draw obviously I don't think Shamrock would. I don't know. I don't think Shamrock would have been a draw. Because to me, in my mind, I was never a huge fan anyway, but by the time after WrestleMania's feud with The Rock, the dude kind of petered out to me. I mean, he lost steam very quickly to me. And I know that has a lot to do with Austin being there, because his push became different, but I just think that I don't know if Shamrock had the staying power, I guess is what I'm saying, as a top draw.
He didn't have the charisma.
He was a one-trick pony boy.
Now, don't get me wrong, Ken Shamrock's a badass.
No doubt.
I truly think that if you had not had Austin, that it would have been Owen Hart, and it would have been like the whole, like, you screwed my brother.
As much as I love Owen, I don't know if he could have drawn, you know?
And that's the thing with the Attitude Era, okay? The Attitude Era was completely different than anything else that came before it, because
the promotion was the draw.
Yeah, and it wasn't, this is the guy that's bringing in the house. these are the 5 guys that are drawing the house. You know,
Yeah,
like say whatever you want to say about like a Ricky Steamboat or a Randy Savage or Ultimate Warrior. At the end of the day, if Hulk Hogan wasn't on the card in the 80s, it wasn't going to make as much money.
Right. Everybody want to be on Hogan's show.
Yeah, but in the WWF Attitude Era, it wasn't, and Steve Austin was the guy, you know, but he wasn't the only guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's just why I think, like I said, Ken Shamrock probably would. There's no doubt that Ken Shamrock wouldn't have been as big of a draw as Steve Austin and made as much money and sold as many shirts. But it still would have been the Attitude Era, and there still would have been a Vince Russo, and there still would have been edgier writing.
Right.
There still would have been an Attitude Era. Before Steve became Steve, they were still going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
That was the end game. It was going to wind up there. It just wouldn't have been as successful as it was without Steve Austin.
Does everybody? I don't know if maybe they do or not, but I don't know if like a lot of our fans. I don't know what our age frame is, but like if you go back and look at early Steve Austin, like when he became Stone Cold, he wasn't what you know him as.
No.
Like after he dropped the Ringmaster thing, like he said that like he went after or he like modeled himself after Richard Kuklinski, who was a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Austin was very much like that's Stone Cold.
Well, even before he got away from that, or even after he got away from that, Steve Austin, like the Stone Cold Steve Austin character now, or even when he was feuding with Vince, he was the redneck guy that everybody liked to hang out with, and was like, yeah, fuck that guy, you know, yeah, fuck them suits, you know. After I'm cold, I'm stone cold. When in like 96, he wasn't like, I'm the everyman and I'm going against the boss. He was an asshole.
Yep.
If you put the S in front of Hitman.
Yeah, like Steve Austin from like 96 until like he won the belt with Dude Love. And he showed like his little bit of fun side or whatever. He was a fucking dick. And that's my favorite Steve Austin. Is dickhead Steve Austin.
If you can find it, go back and watch the Live Wire, like right before Bret Hart decides if he's coming back for, I think it's either Survivor Series or WrestleMania.
Survivor Series, 96.
Survivor Series. But fucking Austin's on fucking Live Wire with Todd Bentengale and Sonny. And good God, it's fucking brilliant.
All right. I'm going to pose my questions to my co-hosts here.
Like all your questions in a row?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. First question. We're going back to 1989, okay? The WWF, we're talking like 88, 89. It's that time frame. The WWF has signed the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. At a certain point, they have Barry Windham under contract during this time, too, as the Widowmaker. And Ric Flair confirmed in his book that the WWF was kind of making overtures to him at this time. And at this time, he decided to stay with the NWA. My question to you guys is, 89, WWF signs Ric Flair. So they have Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham. Do you think Vince puts the Horsemen together in the WWF?
No.
Do you think that happens?
No.
Yes.
Okay, Aaron says no. Why?
Because it wasn't a Vince McMahon creation.
So you don't think he even would have put them together like all with Heenan?
No.
Like as a unit?
Nope.
And Kyle, you say yes. Why?
Yes.
He even has J.J. Dillon. He still wouldn't have done it.
Because what is a better package deal for Hulkamania than the Four Horsemen? that he has to go through everyone
Vince
to
is going
get
to tell you,
Flair.
it's the Twin Towers,
Now
buddy.
see, and it's funny because I kind of fall in the middle on it. You say you say no, Aaron, Kyle, you say yes. I say yes, no, because of what I just said.
Are you asking Wesley?
Yes, no, yes. I think that I think he would not obviously have called them the Four Horsemen, but I do think that you would have wound up with Flair being managed by Heenan.
Hold on, hang on, because the whole it's not a Flair, it's not a Vince creation. Like, I don't think that was the point in like '89, because he was allowing guys to use it was like Roddy Piper. He didn't try to change Roddy Piper. He didn't try to change Hulk Hogan. He didn't try to change Randy Savage. It was kind of like in that time, it was him like, oh, I need to use their star power. I think he would have used the Four Horsemen, the name the Four Horsemen, to fucking be like, yeah, the Four Horsemen used to be in NWA, but now they're here in the real world of pro wrestling.
See, that's where that's the part I disagree with you on, is that I don't think he would have called them the Four Horsemen, but I think he would have put them all together as part of the Heenan family. I think he would have let you see them together as a unit in the WWF. Right. But I don't think he would have used the name, just because, like Aaron said, I don't know that he would have.
Even if they're all managed by Bobby Heenan, they're still not together, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like even when Bobby managed all these different guys, they weren't like a united force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe at Survivor Series you'd see all of Bobby's guys together, or at the Royal Rumble you'd see all his guys together. So they could do the obligatory argument of, we're a solid group, but now all of us want to win, so we have a little cheeky argument, and Bobby's like getting in between them.
Except Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with Andre during that Rumble promo.
Yeah,
I love it. Like, Arn just backs off, like, yeah, Andre's gonna win.
yeah, like that type of thing. They would do that with the Heenan family, but on like the Brother Love show, like Hercules, Rick Rude, and Andre didn't come out and be like, we're one united group.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying they wouldn't have been managed by Bobby, but it wouldn't have been what it was on the end of it.
Right. Well, and that's the reason why the Heenan family never ended Hulkamania, because they couldn't.
Get on the same fucking page.
Yeah. God damn.
But anyway,
all right. Well, that answers that one.
That's a good question.
So my next question is, you got to pick one team during the 80s wrestling boom where WWF had the greatest assembly of tag teams in the history of wrestling. One team that didn't win the tag championships that should have had a run with the titles in the 80s.
In the 80s?
Yeah, the 80s, like, let's say 87 to 90, because that's when it was probably the best, the thickest.
My answer is going to be kind of fucking a cop out, but like they technically won them, but like they never like officially won them. But the Rockers,
okay,
yes, they technically won them, but because the fucking rope broke,
it was never recognized.
Yeah, like that to me, for as great of a team as they were. Like the fact that they never got a chance to have the titles and run, or a title run with all the great tag teams, because I mean, fucking think about that. That's perfect. Because can you imagine the Rockers as a heel fucking tag team?
Or the Rockers as champions defending against Demolition, or yeah. I mean, I see that, and they're up. They weren't the answer I had to this question, but they're definitely a good answer. And they were one of the better tag teams of that era, so yeah, I can totally see them as like I don't know that I see. I don't know that I see the Rockers to be a heel tag team champions. They would have had to dump that whole gimmick.
Right, but I'm saying like towards the end when it was like, because really, when you think about it, the Rockers towards
the only way you can make those guys a heel tag team is if they have the right manager.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Sherry.
Yep.
Yeah. Or Sherry.
I think Sherry would have been the best for them as heels.
But can you imagine them coming out like being cocky and being like, "We're the fucking best," and like they're always like managed to just fucking squeak by with the titles. I mean, to me, that just
it would have been fun. Aaron, what's your answer?
Because everybody in that crowd knows Kyle. They could beat their ass.
Right. Yeah. Little shit heel tag team.
Love that shit.
Aaron?
Well, I've been sitting here debating because I had two teams and they're drastically different.
Fuck it, give it both.
I want to see if you and I both have the same one.
Can I tell you what my runner-up was?
Sure.
Runner-up is the Twin Towers.
I really like the Twin Towers. They weren't my pick, but they were a fan. I got to meet the one-man gang last weekend. Cool fucking dude.
I got to watch you.
And you know what? Funny story, not to get off topic.
I told you he's going to grab you, and you were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've watched him grab 4 people.
You mean like by the pussy? Got to have my picture taken with I have an Akeem Hasbro on the card, and he signed that for me. But I want to tell you, folks, Kyle, I didn't get to tell you this story. And Aaron, since you brought it up, we're in the moment. I don't know if we'll get back to it. I told him, I said, I thought in the 80s, you and Ray Traylor were a fantastic tag team, very entertaining, and very underrated. And he looks at me and he goes, you know what, brother? You're right. We were fucking underrated. It was great. I mean, it was good. Very, very cool dude, down to earth. Had a conversation with me. Didn't treat me like a piece of shit fan that, in and out, get your autograph, blah blah blah. But anyway, Twin Towers, good pull. Now, who's your numero uno there, bro?
I am going to put the tag team championships on the fabulous Rougeau brothers.
That is exactly who I picked.
Mm.
You talk about a shit heel tag
team.
Good
pull.
You talk about a shit heel tag team for baby faces to. Yeah, you watch that era of the WWF, and it's amazing those guys never got a run with the belt. They were so good, and such good shit heels with Jimmy Hart. The whole package, it would have been great. It would have been great. Let the Hart Foundation and the Rockers chase the Rougeaus for 6 months.
And like. People talk about now they talk about Jacques Rougeau, and he wasn't like the most popular guy in the locker room. It's like, well, if you got heat with the locker room, it's the old expression that you hear a lot of wrestling people say is if you got heat in the locker room, you're gonna have heat with the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Jacques Rougeau just came off as such a prick, And I like Raymond Rougeau, but I am such a fan of everything that Jacques Rougeau ever did.
Well, I was about to say too, if you would have those guys, because the best way to come to the end of a tag team and break them up is to have the championships involved, especially when they're brothers or something like that, or so close, like. You could have turned a tag title run by those two into you could have had, because I think Ray Rougeau would have been a decent babyface singles.
Yeah.
So you could have had your shit heel brother Jacques and your babyface brother Raymond at the end of their tag reign, at the end of their run, and you could have turned that into another year-long feud between those two.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the Rougeau brothers are.
Yeah, that was my call too.
If you're throwing it on the carpet and you're asking, I would. If I had to pick a team, it would be them. They could have had a good 6 to 8 month run as tag team champions.
So now my next question.
Maybe 2 years. I don't know.
My next question is: a lot of people talk about Starrcade '97 in that it's ironic that show was the biggest show in the history of that company, but it was also the beginning of the downfall of that company. So WCW Starrcade '97, Sting, Hulk Hogan, and what they fucked it all up. You know, like we talk about the WWE all the time. They give you something good and then they fuck it all up. They fuck that finish up. The shit after it just totally devalued Sting. So my question is, even if they do that finish right, even if it's satisfying, even if Sting beats Hogan, you're done with the NWO. That's the end of the NWO. Hogan goes away for 6 months. Sting gets to be the top babyface like we've been building up to for 2 years. Does WCW have a better chance in the Monday Night War? And is Sting, at the end of the day, the guy that can carry that company? Does WCW have a better chance of survival if they do the end of that match and that angle correctly?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got. All right. Kyle answered first. No. Why do you say that?
Okay. Here's the problem with Sting. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a huge Sting fan in 97. 96, 97, Sting was my fucking guy. I love the fact that he fucking was dark and mysterious, come down from the rafters. Like, he was the hero for WCW. But that is the problem. Once he vanquishes Hulk Hogan, what do you do then? Because what made him a star was being that recluse, hiding away from the NWO and fighting against the NWO. If you have him vanquish it, where do you go from there? It's dead in the water, just like it was before. That's the problem. Because here's the problem. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, Aaron, but you know, everybody's like, "Oh, we want to see the old Sting, the fucking flamboyant," you know, but that wasn't the character. That's not what got him over with that. It was him being silent, him being the fucking vigilante, him being Batman. Once Batman kills the Joker, it's like, well, that's it.
Fair point. Aaron, you said yes. Why do you say yes?
Well, Kyle just said, like, Sting has now vanquished Hollywood Hogan. Okay? He beat Hogan. Now the NWO is destroyed. Where do you go from there? Okay? Well, you splinter that shit. It's broken off. And now Hogan's been defeated. And Hogan now has to run off into the darkness because he's been vanquished. And now the NWO has splintered. So now you can start dissension on the fact of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall come out. And they're like, oh, Hogan said he'd do this and he'd do that for us. And now we can't. Or Hogan said that his involvement in this and in our group, we'd make all this money and we take this company over and this, that, and the other thing. And now this painted-faced warrior has come down and vanquished our leader, and he's ran away. We can't find him now. And for like months, they're like, "Oh, Hogan, where the hell are you at? You know, you let us down. You let us down." And you can splinter it. Is what I'm saying making sense? Like, you gain more storylines with Hogan losing than you do with fucking Hogan winning or winning in the way that he won or lost.
And I get that, but that's the problem with that is that,
like, when Sting beat Hulk Hogan, the NWO should have fucking disevolved. It should have just been done.
And I agree with you.
We have Scott Hall, we have Kevin Nash, and we have Hulk Hogan, and then you have all these little minions that were following these guys around, and they're like, "Fuck, the bottom fell out of this thing before it even got started," and you got like six. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? And Virgil, like, he's like, I have nothing.
And I
without you people.
And I get that.
Nothing
and
without you.
And that's a great point.
But can be like, I invested my millions of dollars in this, and now it's fucking kaput.
And I do get that, and that's a great point. But the problem is, there's nobody left for Sting to vanquish. Now it's become the infighting of the NWO, and Sting's just like, well, I got the fucking title over here.
I think what happens is, I kind of sort of side with Kyle on this one, and it's because of my personal feelings about Sting as a character. I think that, like you said, Kyle, that whole Crow character Sting was built on the fact of destroying WCW. So he wins the title, and now he's essentially. I hate to say this because like everybody always says, I really like the guy. I liked him as a wrestler, and he seems like a great person, and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, without the NWO and the Crow storyline, Sting's not a fucking draw. He never was. He wasn't that good. I'm sorry. He just wasn't.
Here's the thing.
He definitely wasn't good enough to be on top against Steve Austin in the Monday Night War.
Nate.
And here's the problem. It's not like Hogan, where Hogan.
I got a joke. Hold on. Nate.
Yes.
Sting can draw something. Do you know what it is?
What?
The drapes. We saw that.
Insider, we'll explain it to you, Kyle.
but here's my thing is that
y'all better not look at me.
but here's the thing is like when you look at like Sting is one of those guys. He is only as good as his heel. Hogan was one of those guys that no matter who you put against Hogan in the early 80s and 90s, it's like he can make that fucking guy. He made fucking Earthquake. He made, like he can fucking take anybody and make them a star because they're going against Hulk Hogan.
Right.
The problem is with Sting needed Flair. Sting needed Hogan. He needed somebody to be that Joker to his Batman.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point with Sting. I don't see WCW. I don't see changing I just wanted to hear you guys' opinions on it, but I don't see changing anything about that in the long run, helping WCW in any way. I think that whether or not, no matter how it went down, that was the end. That was the peak.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that should have been the peak of the NWO. Sting wins the championship, and then you dissolve the NWO. And then all those strong personalities in the NWO
are now on their own.
Are now on their own, and they have nobody backing them because they were against the WCW locker room. So now, like a Kevin Nash is just out there like a buoy in the ocean, has nobody around him, and say Luger and the Giant want to tee up on him and beat up on him and shit. He's just getting his ass kicked, and nobody's coming out to help him because he was a shitter. He was just a shit person,
Yeah.
You threw Rey Mysterio into a fucking trailer.
It's like you lawn darted Rey Mysterio, and you called me the Nacho Man, and you did this, and this. Fuck you. You know what I mean? So now, like a Kevin Nash and a six pack and a Scott Hall and a Buff Bagwell have to like now work their way back into that locker room. It would have been so much better if they would have just killed the fucking NWO in 1997 or whenever that pay-per-view happened when Hogan lost. The NWO should have stopped.
Yes.
Do you guys realize
would have had a 10 times better WCW if the NWO wouldn't have went for like longer than what it should have ended in 97 when Sting won.
Yes.
Do you realize that we had an NWO in 2000?
We don't.
I realize that.
Damn you, Kyle, for talking about that. Let's go on to my next question. So my next question is more of a do you guys think this is cool? Hey you guys, you think it's cool?
I gotta pee.
All right, let's pause recording.
Sorry.
All right, so the Next thing, like I said, is this just it's not necessarily, I guess it's not a question, it's just do you guys think this would be cool? If Brian Pillman would not have passed away in 97, and he gets to participate in the Attitude Era, do you think it would have been fun, even though what happened was cool as hell? I think it almost would have been fun to have Brian Pillman in the Dude Love position just after Austin won the title. Like
not as the character, but in the feud.
Vince McMahon got to Brian Pillman, and maybe even go leading up to WrestleMania, Brian Pillman and Austin kind of reunite or whatever, or not reunite. That's not the Austin character, but they're friends again, I guess. And then Vince McMahon has come between these two friends, like he poisoned Austin's friend. I don't know. They
have the summer of love, where Austin and Dude win it, but it's Austin and Pillman that win the titles.
No. I'm just no.
Hang on, and then like later on down the road, like after Austin wins it, then all of a sudden Pillman's the one that turns back.
Yeah, something like that. Just
it would even work with them being a team. Like Steve Austin can be like, you know what? This is the only guy like sicker and crazier than me. Mm-hmm. You get me, man. And yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to compromise Austin's character by making him all buddy-buddy with somebody. That's not what I'm saying. But somehow you allude to the fact that they're friendly again. And then after WrestleMania, because Austin has pissed Vince off, Vince poisons his friend's mind against him. And, and Pillman's obviously already unstable. You could say shit like that on TV. And then instead of... and I hate to say it because you're kind of pushing Foley off to the side, but how cool would it have been to have Austin and Pillman for the title? I don't know, just a hypothesis.
It is one of those things that it's sad we'll never get to know the answer to that, because I think it's been fucking cool as well.
Now my next two are going to be really quick, I promise, because they're just standard answer questions.
Yes and no.
They're not yes or no, but they're standard answer questions.
That's not a standard answer question, Nate.
I'm not debating this with you, Kyle. What are your two?
Buddy, pal.
What are your?
Not your friend, buddy.
I'm begging you, please. I'm begging you, Nate. Please, please put your shirt back and sit back down.
I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you.
I am.
What are your two favorite matches you've seen live in person?
I saw the Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker and Edge. Loved that match. And I would say after that, it would be think about that for a minute. We don't want dead air though. Kyle, what are your answers?
One of them was we got to see CM Punk versus John Cena during the build up to SummerSlam after Raw went off the air. And it was fucking great because it was all of us together.
And they were holding up their dueling titles.
Yes, that was fun. Like, we all knew what it was, but it was cool to see them like kind of work out their match and everything. Like, that was fun. The other one, it was just on the tip of my tongue. Motherfucker. Oh no. When we got to see AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy for TNA.
Yeah, that was cool.
At that house show. Because AJ was playing the old school heel. Like, he was like, I'm not fucking wrestling him. I'm not Like, fuck you, fans. You guys are like.
Yeah, he was doing some territory shit.
Yeah, it was just a really cool thing to see, like, because there was no cameras. It was just a house show, and like you got to see Jeff versus AJ, which like now would be like a fucking main event anywhere.
Right.
But like you got to see them like have fun.
Now I'm gonna.
Now I got my last match.
Okay.
It was that Undertaker Edge Hell in a Cell match, which is cool as shit. You were with me. And then when I was still with my favorite ex-girlfriend, there's a few of those. Not favorite ones, but there's like one favorite one. We went to a house show in Fort Wayne, and it was the first time I saw Ric Flair live, which was fucking amazing. And he wrestled Goldberg. And the match he had with Goldberg, like the physical interaction that he had with Goldberg was probably 2 minutes. But everything that Ric Flair did building up to Goldberg coming out was fucking fantastic.
Watching Ric Flair do his thing. Woo!
Watching Flair do his thing for like 5 minutes, and then Goldberg coming out, spearing him, doing his thing, jackhammering him, and all that. Ric Flair versus Goldberg is fantastic.
I'm gonna fly.
My favorite house show, like it shouldn't be it's not a match per se. But my favorite thing I've ever seen live that wasn't a wrestling match was at the Toledo Sports Arena. I got to watch a highlight reel at the Toledo Sports Arena with Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, and Eric Bischoff, and it was fantastic. Go ahead, Nate.
I'm gonna fly through this real quick because one of my favorite matches I ever saw live. One of my two favorites, same as Aaron. We went together, SummerSlam 08. Edge and The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. Fantastic. Big burp for that one. And then the other match, my other favorite match that I saw in person, was Aaron was also with me. It was a house show, Toledo, Ohio, 1996. Got to watch Shawn Michaels wrestle Steve Austin when Steve Austin was still that heel, Steve Austin.
That's the night I shook Steve Austin's hand.
And then
people don't believe me, but I did it.
Favorite non wrestling match thing. Two of them. There's two of them, and one of them Kyle was with me, and Aaron was with me, and that was it was bittersweet, but it was cool that we went to the Raw just after Paul Bearer died.
Yeah.
Because it was a cool Raw. You know, you had a lot of Undertaker, the atmosphere. That was a cool live experience. Also, Aaron, you'll remember this. It was cool as fuck to have Aaron and I were at a Raw in Fort Wayne in 05, and we got to watch Ric Flair and Triple H like brawl right past us.
Yeah.
It wasn't a match. They were doing an angle, but they brawled right past us, and that was a cool deal. So
it was also super cool to see the Rock and Roll Express live.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the highlights of my life.
Yes, very cool. Those guys were absolutely fantastic.
And the greatest thing that ever popped me unexpectedly in the history of professional wrestling was at that same show at the Rock and Roll Express when Gilbert lost his match and stood up and said, "Thank you. Sorry."
Living the gimmick, brother. All right.
Speaking of the Rock and Roll Express.
Thank you.
Speaking of the Rock and Roll Express, guys, fucking NWA Power is fucking free on YouTube. You have no excuse not to go watch it.
Free on YouTube. All you motherfuckers got a smartphone. Don't tell me you ain't got one. Even you Obama phone motherfuckers got a smartphone. Okay. Last but not least, we'll take a break, then we'll come back. This is
To my questions?
It doesn't matter.
I have questions.
I'll let you fight about that.
I have like 12 questions.
Jesus Christ, this show's gonna be 4
It's
hours
6
long.
each.
Let me go. Let me do mine next. I'll go through them quick.
You
And
do
then we'll
you,
get
boo. You
and then
do, boo.
You do you, boo. And then we'll get to Aaron and his main event questions.
Jesus Christ. Okay, listen. Favorite ring announcer not named Howard Finkel.
Favorite ring announcer not named Howard Finkel?
Yeah, because everybody's gonna say Howard Finkel, so I took
Gary
him off the
Michael
list.
Capetta.
Okay, Kyle.
David Penzer.
Really?
Fuck off. They muted him. He was so bad they muted him.
I'm gonna isolate that. Like, I'm gonna isolate David Penzer. Fuck off, and just use it as a soundbite. Are you ready to tell me to fuck off, Aaron?
Oh shit!
Not because they muted David Penzer. He was so mad.
I'm gonna say mine, and you're gonna go fuck off, just like you did with him.
No, I probably won't.
Favorite ring announcer not named Howard Finkel for me, Justin Roberts. I like
Roberts.
I like Justin Roberts.
I was pleasantly surprised when I watched AEW and I heard Justin Roberts. He's the ring announcer for AEW now.
Yes.
I enjoy Justin Roberts.
Well, I guess I didn't get that heat like you did, Kyle. That big snaggy Dave Penzer heat.
WCW knew that guy was so bad they muted him.
All right.
I like David Penzer. Fuck off.
But Gary Michael Capetta, man. I like Gary Michael Capetta.
I do too.
The Steiner brothers.
And then they have.
I love how he introduced the Steiner brothers.
On the WWE network, they have Jerry Michael Capetta.
Well, you can fuck off too.
Well, you know what I'm talking about, though, right? Like they do that Gary Michael Capetta voice over their WWE music. Yeah. You'd be like, the skyscrapers.
Yeah. If I didn't have to say Gary Michael Capetta for that, honestly, you know who I liked?
Who's that?
I liked
Joe
Mike
McHugh.
McGurk. No, Mike McGurk.
Yeah, Mike McGurk wasn't bad for her job. She did a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I said,
I used to like when I enjoyed Mike McGurk better than Finkel when she would announce like where Ted DiBiase was coming from this month.
Yeah.
Like it sounded better when it came from like a female voice.
And it looked like he provided her with her suit. So.
With her wardrobe and hair.
Well, yeah, I mean she dressed like $1 Million Man, but a woman. Like.
I got big hair and a flashy suit.
She'd have like how he'd have like a silver jacket with the red lapel. She'd have like a silver jacket with the red lapel.
Yeah. And I got bigger shoulders than you.
All right, we're gonna take a break.
That's the only thing about Ted DiBiase. He never had DiBiase didn't have shoulders.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry.
You're right. But he had a more realistic body than most of the guys on the roster too.
Yeah, it's like I can believe that you'd be a little dumpy because you got money.
Yeah. I like eclairs. the most expensive eclairs.
My eclairs have truffles in them.
I bought Dunkin' Donuts just for the eclairs. All right, I'm beating this fucking eclair joke into the fucking water. So we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we'll do Kyle's questions and then Aaron's questions. We'll also do another listener question right after the break here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Posing questions to each other. So far, the show's going really good. We appreciate your support. And again, like I said earlier, like the Facebook page, join the Facebook group, get in on the fucking show, would you?
What's the next reader question?
I was about to say, like our listener John Martin Jr. did here. He says, who do you think is going to be the first big name WWE guy or girl to jump to AEW? And will AEW do pay-per-view DVDs like the WWE? Let's say address the first question here. Who do you think is going to be the first one to jump to AEW? I mean, not obviously not counting Jon Moxley because he already did.
Who's going first?
Sasha Banks.
Her or her forehead?
She'll have a big fit on the floor before she does it, but
yeah. I think if anybody right now, as it stands, is at that point of like fuck this, it's going to be her.
I have a. It might be dumb, but I have a couple different answers to this. Okay. When I read this question, it was who is from the WWE going to jump to AEW. I put who do I want to jump? Like who do I want to leave the WWE is Dolph Ziggler.
Okay.
I really want Dolph Ziggler to leave. He won't, but I want him to. And then when I go to who do I think is going to actually jump, I don't think I shouldn't say I don't think he is. I know he isn't. I'm a fan of him. But the next guy I really think is possibly going to leave the WWE and go to AEW is Apollo Crews.
Okay.
And I think it would be a really good move for the man because in the WWE he's lost in the shuffle. But if you take a guy that looks like Apollo Crews, that can work like Apollo Crews, and put him in AEW, he's a fucking star.
My pick.
Now, I'm going to go with big star that I see potentially being the first like actual name big star would be Rusev. I could see when Rusev's contract's up, he jumps.
And I was actually going to mention Rusev as my big name to jump. And then my not big name to jump, guy that's kind of lost in the mid-card that maybe would say WWE isn't using me to my full potential, would be Mike Kanellis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you on Rusev. I think if you're talking a main event guy that's like, I can't, they just keep, you know what I mean? They just keep steamrolling me. I have heat. I'm over. Then yes, Rusev. But I think Mike Kanellis is probably the most likely because I'm sure that even though he's stuck in the 50-50 booking, being a bigger star, I'm probably going to say Rusev's one of those guys that's happy with that check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be my picks, and thank you so very much. Oh, Kyle.
There's the other question.
Oh, Kyle.
There's the other part of that question.
Yes. Do you think AEW would do pay-per-view? I'd say now it'd probably be Blu-rays over DVDs, but do you think they're going to have a distribution for that kind of stuff?
I don't see them doing it because it's not like 5 years ago where it was, you know, as well as I do. 5 years ago, it's like we fucking bought up all the fucking wrestling DVDs because that was the only place you could see that shit.
It's funny because I still sell stuff on eBay, and I guess this is just my neuroticism. I have two gigantic totes full of WWE DVDs that I never watch. But I don't sell them because I'm afraid, one day WWE Network isn't going to exist and I don't have to buy all this shit all over again. So yeah, you're right. Like I up until WWE Network launched in 2014, like you go 2014 back, I have like every pay-per-view on DVD. You know, all the collections on DVD, all the documentaries on DVD. It was it was a passion of mine back then. But I think AEW is more likely to start a streaming service with their library than they are to have Blu-ray DVDs.
Because the problem you run into is that not saying anything against AEW, but like with WWE, they had their they would come out with their documentaries on different superstars and stuff, and that was like the big thing.
And then you got a bunch of matches you've never seen.
The problem with AEW is they don't have anything of any of that, and
I could
so
see
fucking new.
I could see AEW doing a deal with like Fight TV, where you spend like we have our like that what is it, Full Gear pay-per-view they got coming up. Yeah, Full Gear coming up. Okay, you give.
By the way, if WWE named a pay-per-view Full Gear, people would be like, well, that's a stupid name. But anyway, go ahead.
You give Fight TV $55, and chances are Fight TV is going to get 25 of it. AEW will get the rest of it, and then you just have it.
Right.
I don't see them releasing physical DVDs, but they'll have something like that. I don't see them having their own website yet or their own full streaming thing yet, because what do they have? They don't have anything to put on there yet. But they'll do something with like Fight TV or the equivalent of it.
Yeah. Okay, so
are we going to do the last reader question, or are we going to go into Kyle's?
Thank you, John Martin Jr., for your question, and we will do Kyle's questions, and then we will hit Ryan Damon's question.
Okay.
All right. So mine are not like super fucking whatever, but what mine is
fucking XP?
Kyle.
Yes.
You're good enough. You're smart enough.
You're smart enough.
And doggone it.
People like you.
Well, that's fucking wonderful.
Stuart Smalley says so, my friend.
I'm glad. Who?
We were talking about Saturday Night Live earlier. You don't know who Stuart Smalley is?
Stuart Smalley is?
Oh.
Al Franken.
That's great. I'm glad that he thinks I'm good enough.
God damn. Stuart Smalley, great.
That is wonderful that he thinks I'm great enough. All right. Moving on. All right. So, what is a favorite piece of wrestling merch that you own?
Oh. For me, it's my full collection of the WWF Hasbros.
Oh, it's full now.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Those are my favorite wrestling action figures of all time, probably because they're the ones I played with the most when I was a kid. I've started on an LJN collection now.
That's how I feel about my balls.
But yes, it's my Hasbro WWF, guys. Love it.
By the way, everybody, that was me and Nate. That's me and That's me and my brother Nate's relationship. Was I said that and he laughed, and the other person in the conversation went,
I'm a big fan of the bone crunching action ones, the ones from Jax. Mm-hmm. Like 95, 96. Like that was like the LGN and the Hasbro. Like, yeah, I had a couple Hasbros and stuff, but like I still got them. But like the big, like me collecting it, like wrestling toys, like that was what that was.
Now, if I'm gonna say like hard to find shit, okay. Hard to find, you spent way too much money on shit. my Hasbro collection cost me a lot of money to get overall. But if I'm talking a one-time purchase, and when Kyle first saw it, I'll never forget this. Kyle came to my house and he saw it on the shelf and he said, "No, you didn't." I have a mint on card Rowdy Roddy Piper LJN figure, and that's a pretty badass piece to have in your collection because you don't find those. You don't find those. You usually find them out of the box. They got the paint damage and all that shit. They don't have the kilt. So to have that one in the collection, in the box, on the card, that's cool. But yeah,
the card is in like great condition.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing about it. It's like.
But yeah, having my Hasbro guys, that's I call them my Hasbro bitches.
Okay, well, I have a lot of stupid. Go ahead.
You have a cool collection, though, Aaron. What's the favorite piece
in
that?
Not stupid. I wasn't trying to say stupid. I was trying to say I'm trying to pick, and there's gonna be something that I mentioned, and Nate's one of the only people that's seen it. Is I on my wall I have a lot of autographed. I've met these people, meet and greet pictures and everything, but I have a magazine cover, but it's blown I shouldn't say magazine covers. Sorry, I have a Japanese poster, and all the text is in Japanese, and it's Ric Flair with the 10 pounds of gold, and I'd say it's probably from the early 80s to late 70s. It's Flair with the NWA Championship, and he's smiling. Nate, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I love that fucking poster. Love it. So I have that. And then I also have pretty much all of the 90, 91 WCW molded action figures. There's Ron Simmons and Butch Reed and Brian Pillman, Lex Luger, the Steiners, Arn. Fucking love having those. But there's just so much shit in my wrestling collection that I don't.
That WCW Galoob series, you know what the coolest figures are for that one to me? Both the Steiners and Sid. I don't know why.
I have both of those. And I have an Arn Anderson that has no dings and no blemishes on it whatsoever.
Oh, he doesn't even have his butt cheeks exposed?
Nope.
Oh.
Good job. That's what it was. It was hard for me to find. There's and I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Hasbro series. And
I will say this. Sorry. I will tell you what my favorite fucking thing that I have is. Before the Ric Flair poster and all my Galoob action figures, you know what it is? It is my LJN Freddie Blassie.
Yeah, I like mine too. Does yours have the cane?
Mine doesn't have the cane. Mine wearing He's wearing a yellow sweater and a red shirt, and he's got his white hair.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic.
Same one I have, and then when I got it and he didn't have the cane, I was like, you know what? Whatever. What cane? I didn't have no cane.
Yeah, he didn't have no cane. I also have a JYD that has his actual it has the dog collar and the chain with it. That's cool too. I have so much shit that I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I was just saying. You said Blassie, and I have a WWE Defining Moments combo that has Blassie, and then it has Hogan with the cape and shit in it. It's really.
Yeah, it was with you when you bought that.
Yeah.
That was a cool deal. You bought that for $40, and that's kind of a steal.
Yeah, it should have been. I looked it up on eBay when I got home, and on eBay generally it sells for $75. So I was like, all right, I jewed it. It's cool. Edit that, Nate.
Edit, scratch.
Squeaky. Kyle, what is yours? Answer your own question, Kyle. What's your favorite scene?
I have it is a WCW Nitro for the PlayStation 1, I think. Mm-hmm. And an ex of mine, her brother worked at a GameStop.
Okay.
You showed me this thing. I know what you're talking about.
Yes. And what it is, it looks like somebody had gone to a show or something and had a shit ton of WCW wrestlers sign it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it has like Flair, Sting, Luger.
I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool.
that is cool. It was a shitty. It was a shitty game, but to have it like, to have it autographed.
I also have the Mattel Brothers Wrestling Superstars game with Hulk Hogan on it. Like the actual board game. I own that. I'm looking at all the shit I own. I own a Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer.
Oof.
What the hell's a Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer?
It sounds like sounds like something you do to a girl you're not going to marry.
It's the thing that it makes like nutritional drinks. It's the thing that he said that he was on, like he was like taking his kids to school when they sold George Foreman the George Foreman grill. It was supposed to be the Hulk Hogan grill. But since he was like taking his kids to school, he missed the call, so now he made the Hulk Hogan mixer. I have that thing. And then I also have a beer mug that is from that. It's not a repurposed one. It is just an Andre the Giant beer mug from like 1987.
Even in 1987, they knew what their market was.
And if you drink,
Giant.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
If you drink enough beer out of that mug, you will talk like Andre the Giant. I'm gonna be the Wild
World Tag Team Champion.
And oddly enough, if you drink even more than that, you'll talk like Andre the Giant now.
Oh.
Fucked up, man.
I'm not the one who did it. It's not my fault.
Well, see, Kyle, you said your questions. That resulted in a 7-minute conversation, so it's not that bad.
Those are all his questions?
No, I'm talking that one question. He says questions weren't that good. Look, one question.
Jesus.
7 minutes.
That was one question?
Yes.
I know.
He asked that yesterday.
We're going to be here till 4 a.m. doing this.
What's your next question, buddy?
What is one guy from a different era that you could bring to this era now and plop in?
Plop in.
Just plop him in. Plop him in like a turd. Just poop.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just going to plop somebody, it would be like Haystacks Calhoun.
Oh, my.
But are you saying like...
You can take anybody from any era
He
of
would be in
wrestling.
a previous era. You could put him in this era, and he'd fit right in.
Okay.
Yes.
Plop is a terrible
Plop
word.
right in.
I have two.
Okay.
I have two plops.
You have two plops.
I have two plops. Plop, plop. Great Muta and Jushin Liger.
Very good picks, yeah.
Japanese plops.
Plop, plop.
Why?
Muta, because I think that you could put Muta into any one of the big promotions today, and he would actually probably be a bigger star than he was then, if that even could happen. I think that he could fit the style of today, and he could be an amazing heel. On the flip side, or maybe on the plop side, I would say Liger could come into, especially an NXT or an MLW today, and be the top guy, hands down. And I know Liger's been on NXT, but I'm talking Liger in
his prime.
Yes, in his prime. You put Jushin. Think about Jushin Liger in his prime against Adam Cole or Shinsuke Nakamura. fuck me. That's amazing. So yeah, like I actually would lean more toward Liger than Muta, but I would say they're one of those guys you could put in today's wrestling scene and they would fit right the fuck in.
Okay, my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Rogers.
Because you could put Buddy Rogers in any era.
Well, yeah, that's what Kyle just asked.
Yeah, I mean, Buddy Rogers, that character, that guy, that arrogance, that fits in any era in wrestling.
And even more so now, his physique and his build, he would look like the people that he's working with, you know. And I think and he would stand out hands above everybody else just because he can actually, if you take the guy and you don't change anything about him, any of his skill rate, anything about him, and you plop him in now, in Kyle's word, plop, there's Buddy Rogers, and he's just going to cut a promo. Jesus Christ. He'd fucking put everybody else to shame. And then the other person that I would plop in to any era would be Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper's a good pick.
Ooh.
I know, that's why I said it.
Piper's a great pick, but you know what?
But
I don't mean to sound like the old guy, but you plop Roddy, you drop
Roddy Plopper?
Roddy Plopper Pliper into this era.
Roddy Plopper.
Lord mercy, he's gonna eat these motherfuckers alive. I don't know if anybody
the
wrestling.
Greatest thing in the world.
There's not a wrestler on the planet right now, other than possibly Jericho, that could slice on the mic with Piper. You know.
That's what I said. Him. Drop him in there. They can't fucking handle it. There's only one guy I almost set ahead of him. And that was Fred Blassie. But you know me, Nate. I'll go on for days and days and days about how Fred Blassie is my fucking favorite person. But yeah.
So to answer,
and the only reason I don't say Blassie is because Blassie couldn't wrestle with him.
Well,
you know?
And another thing about Blassie is, and possibly Piper, if you dropped them into this era, and this is the older guy in me talking, in the modern era, I don't know that they would be able to be on TV for more than 6 minutes without offending some fucking pussy.
That's why I want them on TV.
Kyle, answer your own question, or do you not have an answer?
I do.
All right.
It's a little Alundra Blaze.
Yes. I would like to watch Alundra Blaze wrestle Asuka. That would be fucking awesome.
If you were to bring her and throw her into today's women's revolution, just, my God.
Yeah, definitely, because in her time she was... Okay, so, yeah, because in her time she was kind of, alone. You know what I mean? Other than if you brought...
Bull Nakano or...
that's what I was going to say, Bull Nakano, or what was Kensuke Sasake's wife's name? Malia Hasaka? Was that?
Yeah, I think so.
Unless you bring one of them in from Japan, or Rhonda Singh without her stupid Bertha Faye gimmick, you don't have a lot of women.
Stupid.
Yeah, kinda. But you don't have
the trailer park Harvey Whippleman and
when I watch those Raws from '95, I would have loved it if they would have kept her with her Rhonda Singh gimmick though.
Bertha Faye.
I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining, but she would have been a more effective heel with her Rhonda Singh gimmick. But yeah, I can definitely see Alundra Blaze in today's women's wrestling scene. She could probably hang now. Have you seen her? God damn.
Oh yeah. Yes, Tony Schiavone, he's fucking in love.
Any of us, she'd knock any of our dicks into the dirt.
And who else?
Huh? Huh?
So
Huh?
you
I
only
feel like we're interviewing Vern Gagne.
Your original the problem, folks, is Kyle's original question was what person. Aaron and I we always talk too much, so we each came up with like 7 people. So then when Kyle got to his one person, I was like, so what's your other one? So
yeah. All I had was the one.
All right, that's cool. What's your next question?
All right.
Done?
Congratulations, you both now own your own wrestling territory. Who's your first pick of anybody from now till the beginning of pro wrestling? Who do you pick as your first guy that you sign?
Randy Savage.
That is my pick as well, as Randy Savage.
The first guy you see on my show is going to be Randy Savage being like, "Ooh, yeah, welcome to Nate's fucking wrestling. Yeah, dig it."
Nate's fucking wrestling. Yeah.
I'm Nate's fucking champion. Yeah.
Shit.
He was the fucking man. Randy Savage.
He
hands
was.
down.
Well, that means you're also bringing Lanny.
Yeah, I guess so. Nate's fucking wrestling is for you.
And we're going to teach the children to read.
So who's your pick, Aaron?
Who's my pick?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Jesus Christ.
Aaron, congratulations, you just now have a wrestling company. Who is your first pick? The person that is going to be the fucking face of your pro wrestling business.
Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan?
Bobby Heenan is the first person to see on my show.
He's the first face people see when your TV comes on? That's a good pick.
The show comes on, and he goes, "Hello, stupids," and just heels on them.
Hey, get your shoe, dummy.
Yeah. "Hello, stupids. Welcome to Aaron's show. And I'm going to tell you why you're fucking ignorant.
And I'm going to tell you why Nate's fucking wrestling fucking sucks."
No, he won't tell you why my wrestling sucks. He's going to tell them why they suck. And that why the people that are behind him, which would be like Rick Rude and Andre the Giant, are the fucking best. And whoever that this Aaron fuck is going to throw at us isn't anything. But it's going to be Bobby Heenan. He's going to be the guy on my show.
So, Kyle, you said yours was the Macho Man as well.
Yep.
What's your next question?
Of all the illustrious titles that has been in pro wrestling, besides like the World Championship, what is another title that you are very fond of?
The WWF Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Same. So we're not going to get a bunch of debate here.
No.
I mean, the Intercontinental title has had, first of all, some of the coolest looking titles. And it has had some of the greatest champions. And it has had some of the greatest matches. I don't know. In modern, like, for our generation, for guys that are late 80s, 90s.
I'm a bigger fan of the WWF Intercontinental Championship than I am of the WWF Championship.
I would agree with that. You know, you're talking. We're not guys that are from the 60s or 70s or even early 80s. We are, when you really think about it, late 80s, 1990s wrestling fans. That was the wrestler's belt. That is an iconic championship. You know, I mean, and I understand a lot of guys, honestly, a lot of guys that are probably 10 years older than us would say probably the United States Championship. But I mean, when you're talking about your era and what you've watched in real time, I totally agree with Aaron. It's the WWF Intercontinental title.
And it was super cool. Like when I met Barry Windham and I got my picture, or not Barry Windham, sorry, Magnum TA. When I got my picture taken with Magnum TA, it was cool as fuck that I got to hold like the United States Championship that Magnum like
right
held. That was cool as fuck. But the Intercontinental Championship to me is it's my favorite championship.
Well, and that's the thing. Art is art, and art is the moment that you live. You know, like Pearl Jam is my favorite band. It's not going to be my dad's favorite band, and it's not going to be my son's favorite band. My favorite band is going to be a band that, and there are bands that existed long before I lived that I love. But because Pearl Jam is my favorite band from the era where I was most influenced by music, that's my favorite band. You guys know what I'm saying? Like time is time, and eras are eras. My son, he doesn't watch wrestling, really. But to my son, John Cena's Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I love thinking about Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect, or Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat, or Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior. And I know you don't like him, but The Rock versus Ken Shamrock. I love thinking about, and I know the belt was different. It looked different.
It doesn't matter. It was still a cool looking belt.
It was still the Intercontinental fucking Championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's badass.
That's actually to be honest.
That was the wrestler's belt in the WWF.
To be honest, coming into the modern time, one of my favorite things in modern wrestling was when Cody Rhodes had the WWE Intercontinental title.
Yeah, and he changed it to the white leather.
Yes, and you know the with the Big Show and he just did the title such justice. That title
and it was cool when like Warrior would change the strap colors. Like he would change the strap. Like that was like the coolest thing about the shitty Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
Was his face paint and the fact that he would like change the color of the belt to match his face paint. That was cool.
Yeah. What was your answer to your question, Kyle?
His matches licked ass, but he changed the belt leather. That was cool.
I've always had a soft spot for the World Television Championship.
When I think of that belt, I think about that belt around Arn Anderson's waist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think of the one that Regal had.
Yeah, to me, it was that belt that, like, especially at the time, was like you always saw that belt on TV.
Mm-hmm. Hence
and
the name.
You know, to me, it almost.
When you guys say the Arn one, are you talking like the red one that he had?
I am. I love that belt.
Like the 80s?
Yes. I love that belt and I love it on Arn Anderson. I don't know why. It just to
like
me
the Crockett era.
Yes.
Title's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. I hear a fart. Hey, fart.
But it was one of those titles that, like, to me, it was like, yes, with like the United States or the Intercontinental, like you knew, like, oh, this person's going to be like the next guy. But like with the World Television Championship, it was like, no, this is the guy that, like, in maybe 3 or 4 years will be the guy.
Or maybe not, but he's still having the best matches on the show.
Exactly. And it was that thing that, like, when your show is what is selling tickets for the pay-per-views or for the arena shows, it's like that is the champion that most people see.
Mm-hmm. And it it translated to some great feuds and some great matches. As an example, the I'm not okay. I'm a fan of Larry Zbyszko as a personality, and Aaron can attest to this. I think Larry Zbyszko is a great wrestling personality. I
Are
think
you gonna smack around the Larry Zbyszko William Regal feud?
listen,
That was shit.
listen. Let me finish.
Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda. Larry Zbyszko, great personality. I think the guy's funny. Like, he has his sense of humor in wrestling, so dry, so good. But I was not a huge fan of Larry Zbyszko as a wrestler. But Larry Zbyszko, and I'm talking as a wrestler, because there are things that he did as an entertainer, as a broadcaster, as the commissioner in TNA, etc., that I like more. But as a wrestler, my favorite Larry Zbyszko shit is his TV title feud with William Regal. So that's what that was the point I was getting to. Like,
you deserve it.
Yeah, I mean that's that title is
Thank you kindly.
Kyle, move on to your next question.
Jesus Christ. Oh shoot.
What number
All right,
are you
this
on?
is my last one.
All right.
What is one thing that you like? Let's say Vince McMahon comes to you right now and says, "Hey, we need your help to save the company."
Hey, pal.
Hey, pal. What is the very first thing that you would do to change and fix what WWE is? Like, I know what mine is.
The first thing I would do.
The first thing I would do is say that Raw is 2 hours. That's simple.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Kyle, go ahead and do yours, because I'm still thinking here.
Non-scripted promos.
Good pick.
Because, in all honesty, the wrestlers today need to learn how to get themselves over.
The only reason I wouldn't say that's the first thing you should do is because that's all they know. If you would tell me I want to do non-scripted promos, I would say we have to have promo classes before we do that. Like, I wouldn't put these guys that have been given scripted promos, non-scripted promo, go out there and talk. It's going to be a fucking train wreck. I would say do like 10 non-scripted promos in front of me, and then we're going to see if you're good. If that makes sense.
No, it does.
Okay.
But I would tell Vince McMahon you need to scale Raw back to 2 hours.
The first thing I would do has layers to it, and I'm not going to go into like super stupid detail. We could do this as a whole episode. This is actually a good one. Keep this in your back of your mind, because we can do this as a whole episode. But the absolute first thing I would do, and the purpose is, and I'm thinking realistically, I'm thinking real world here. What is going on right now in WWE? I have no influence on SmackDown, because they just signed a $5 billion 5-year contract with Fox, and I have to resign myself to the fact that SmackDown is going to be a corporate-looking Fox Sports program, okay? So keep that in the back of your mind. So the first thing I do is in 2 days on Monday Night Raw. They have a draft going on right now. This is a perfect question right now. I'm drafting Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental Champion, to Raw. Okay? And he's coming out at the beginning of the show, and he is challenging Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship.
Yes. Hello.
At the end of the show, Shinsuke Nakamura is going to win the Universal Championship, and I am going to let Raw be the mainstream show for people that don't want to watch corporate wrestling. He's winning the title. He's unifying the Universal and Intercontinental Championships. Let SmackDown be SmackDown, because you're not going to change it. It is what it is, but you can change Raw, because it's not as, you know what I mean? Like, Fox is so, the way the contract is and everything. I'm just thinking in a real world scenario here. I've made Shinsuke Nakamura my champion on Raw, and I'm going to build Raw as the mainstream show that's not corporate.
How many hours is your show?
Well, you already made it 2 hours.
How many commentators do you have?
I only have 2.
And you have a Japanese guy as your champ?
Because there's only 2 3-man booths that have ever worked in the history of wrestling.
Your champion's a Japanese guy.
I don't care.
Right.
Who cares?
No, I'm asking.
My champion is Shinsuke Nakamura. He doesn't need to cut a fucking promo. He just needs you in the fucking mouth.
Well, just settle down, man. I was just asking you as a fucking dude. I was just asking a question.
Shinsuke Nakamura's wrestling is good enough where his promos don't have to be.
Well, no. Oh. Who's the guy that owns Fox News?
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, I'm not Rupert Murdoch. I'm Rupert Murdoch's assistant. Hello.
But Raw's not on Raw's not on Fox, so Rupert Murdoch's assistant can go talk to somebody on SmackDown.
Okay, I'm Chris Lee Knows Best. What's up?
What's up?
Hey. This shit just got stupid. Pause.
All right, we're going to take a break. Kyle.
I have
Yes, sir.
a series of 6 questions to each person, which is 12 questions.
Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You didn't answer your own question.
Yeah, I did. I said I would stop scripted promos.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just building off Aaron's thing on that. Okay.
Who's building off my thing?
We have lost control of this show. It's official. Mark it.
But it's our show, and we're allowed to lose control.
I have to smoke a cigarette.
And we are going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the We Can't Wrestle podcast after this. Aaron has something like 76 questions for us.
12.
Or
God
12.
damn, this is like the fucking
Schindler's
state
List.
exam.
This podcast is as long as Schindler's List.
This is like the Titanic. It's 2 VHS tapes, folks. It's like WrestleMania. It's like WrestleMania 4.
Near, far,
But Kyle,
wherever you are.
Kyle,
Yes,
it's great to have you back.
it's great to be back.
And that's how the long shows happen, when there's 3 of us, and I fucking love it. We'll be right back after this with more of the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
It's great to see you back. Well, it's great to see my front, too.
Booga. All right, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And for anybody that listens to this show, you know that at this point in the show, every single host is in some way inebriated. Kyle is making a bunch of fucking noise.
He's rubbing his fat up against his microphone.
There, that's better.
Kyle.
Sorry, I was rubbing my microphone was rubbing against my fat. It's how I sleep at night.
It's Cholesterol Appreciation Day here on the.
Yeah. My name is.
You heard the joke. Epidermis is showing. Your epidermis is hearing.
My name is Wilford Brimley, and I have diabetes. I have diabetes.
So James Winter asked a question, and I did not see what the question was because the last time that I saw Ryan Damon was the last question that I saw. So what's James Winter's question?
Yes, James Winter, I have diabetes.
So you want me to do James Winter's question before Ryan Damon's?
Yeah, because I don't know James Winter's question, so this will be...
Actually, James Winter's question is more of a statement. He's making a statement. He says, and I kind of like it, it's funny. He says, Pillman never has the Jeep accident, becomes a main event legend. Marries Stephanie, divorced 10 years later, and we have a new outlaw promotion. And that is Pillman's fucking wrestling.
Yes.
It's loose cannon wrestling, and it's better than AEW. Thank you, James.
I will take it. That is...
Everybody.
Dead beat dead.
Everybody gets a big fucking pencil.
Dead beat dead.
Triple H just kind of blows off into the sunset. No, actually, Triple H gets fat.
Oh.
Because he's not working out anymore.
I am the game.
Hello, my name is Paul Levesque, and I have diabetes.
I used to be a WWF superstar. So now we'll roll on to Ryan Damon's question. If you could, Jesus Christ!
What
I don't know what's happening.
What the hell is
Kyle, did you take your pills?
No, I've apparently got a lot of messages in the last 27 seconds.
That was Aaron. I thought it was Kyle. Sorry, Aaron. No. Did you take your pills?
I've apparently got a lot of messages in the last 27 seconds, or Jesus is calling me home.
Ryan Damon, regular listener, thank you, Ryan, for your support for the show. We appreciate it. If you could quantum leap and change a bad outcome to a good outcome, no Owen or Benoit, what would you change?
Kyle, you can answer first.
Kyle.
Well, I'm not gonna go with Guerrero because that's kind of the same thing as everything else. But I would, if I could go back and quantum leap, I would let Fusion Media buy WCW.
Okay.
And there would continue to be two brands. It would never have been the whole split because I honestly believe had WCW not folded, you probably wouldn't have gotten the Steve Austin heel turn, and you wouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Who's to say?
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, to me, that's the biggest thing that I would do is, if not that, I would go back and if WCW has to be bought out, I would go back and hold off the invasion for another year.
Till you could get some
names,
bigger names under contract. And
yeah,
I see that. I'm kind of in the same. It's not the WCW thing, and
Can I say my answer?
Yes.
And it is no lie because I wrote it down. when I read each question that the Facebook community put out there, and he said the quantum leap question, it really registered to me. And the thing that I did was that I would jump back to 1996 and I would transplant myself into Ted Turner's office, and I would tell him to not merge with Time Warner.
Good call.
Don't merge, Ted. And when he would be like, why? I'd just smack him in the face and be like, don't merge, Ted.
But Jane wants some Valiums.
Don't merge, Ted.
More Valiums for Jane.
Don't merge, Ted.
So mine is, and you would have to change the name of the promotion at some point, to be honest, because it's a very regional name. But I wish that Smoky Mountain Wrestling would have found a way to not fold. I would have helped Jim Cornette find a way to not fold Smoky Mountain and go national. You'd have to have a different name, because obviously Smoky Mountain Wrestling even sounds regional. But I think that promotion was fantastic. It was one of those things that just it flamed and then it extinguished. And if you watch it in its entirety, it is an amazing wrestling promotion. And with a mind like Jim Cornette's, I think that it could have been something, especially in that time. It could have been something. It could have wound up being something bigger than it was if it would have got a big money backer. Let Jim do his thing and give it a different name.
Say Ted doesn't fold, or say Ted doesn't merge with Time Warner, and Jim Cornette's out there as an independent whatever, and he sees what's going on with Smoky Mountain, and he gets rid of like a Jim Herd and a Bill Watts, and then a Jim Cornette rolls in there or something. I might be dumb. I don't know. But I think like one of the worst things that ever happened in professional wrestling was Ted Turner merging with Time Warner.
Absolutely.
And that's my quantum leap.
And that is honest to God, I think for WWE that's going to be what this Fox merger is. It's just I know it's a lot of money, and I know that's what you're in business for, but for that company, that brand, that SmackDown brand, because thank God WWE, people can say what they want about Raw, God damn it, but it's still not, we get pissed at it, yes. But at least it's still pro wrestling on a mainstream level. But this Fox deal with SmackDown it's going to kill it. I mean, it's going to kill it. You can't have fucking... It's the same thing as the Time Warner merger. You can't have people that don't know any fucking thing about pro wrestling having that much fucking hold over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These people don't know pro wrestling, and I promise you, but watch the SmackDown this week. They're going to butt their stupid fat heads in until wrestling fans can't even stand it anymore. And there are some good things, Cain Velasquez. I'm not hating on that. That's fine. It's mainstream. It's cool, but it's the same thing as the Time Warner merger. It's going to kill the SmackDown brand. Not WWE, but that brand is on its way to a $5 billion death. So, yeah, I agree. And Aaron, you have questions for me and questions for Kyle, right?
I have 6 questions for Kyle and 6 questions for you.
So who are you going to ask first?
That's what I was going to ask. Who wants to go first?
Why don't we do one each?
Well, we can't because I have them on my note app.
Okay, well then...
I'm going to bounce back and forth. I don't have time for that shit.
You have time to write 12 questions, but not time for...
Well, okay. Jesus. I'll try it that way. Who wants to go first?
All right, Aaron's going to ask Kyle his 6 questions, and if I want to answer, I will. If I don't, I'll go,
It's my goddamn time to shine. I feel like fucking Pat Sajak.
With Gary Michael Capetta announcing this main event.
All right. Least favorite gimmick match and why?
Oh, least favorite gimmick match. I'm probably going to say the Inferno match.
Why?
Because there's no way that they could ever, like, that is at the point where it's just too much. Because, like, they're like, oh, to win, someone has to be set on fire. It's like, well, that's not going to happen. I don't care who you are trying to fucking impress or and what you're trying to say, but yeah, there's just no way that it's going to ever happen.
I have a follow-up.
They can't live up to the hype or whatever. I
have
guess.
A follow-up question to that. In the time, like the rest of us, did you think it was cool though? Like in the time, watching it in the moment, where you're like, "This is fucking cool."
At the time, yes.
The first one. The first one.
But the minute that Kane fucking sets his arm on fire, and that's how it ends it, and you can tell that there's padding and shit in it. And I was like,
yeah.
Well, this just became hokey.
Well, this is Vince Russo. So I have an answer to this question. It's very simple, and I'm gonna let you move on. But my answer to this question is the reverse battle royal in TNA because it's fucking stupid.
Oh, it's fucking so horrible.
But that's it. I'm not gonna elaborate. It's just the reverse battle royal because it's fucking stupid.
Nate, you could have just said TNA.
What?
You could have just said TNA.
We could do a whole show on TNA's bad fucking matches.
And you know what that's going to be? That's going to be episode 79. Ha ha! But anyway. All right.
Okay. The next question for Kyle is, and this was a topic that we talked about a couple podcasts before that you weren't on because you were, I don't know, sleeping. Kyle, in your opinion, the most underrated tag team.
I'm going to go with... You know what? I know his name is his name is not one that you should bring up, but I am a big and was a big fan of Benoit and Malenko as a tag team.
In ECW or WCW?
Both.
Right.
Yeah, I was a big fan of those two together because you had the ground game of Dean Malenko, the technical, and Benoit had it too, but Benoit was more the high flyer. Yeah. And those two, to me, they seem like they just match so well.
They were a great tag team, and you can bring up Chris Benoit on here if you want. I mean,
well, it's one of those things.
I hate people that say, "Oh, I fast forward his matches because I can't watch him." It's like, well, you still listen to Beat It.
Yeah.
Or you still watch The Cosby Show, or you still fucking whatever. Chris Benoit was a monster and is a monster, but he still was a great professional wrestler, and the art that he put out there was good. It wasn't even good, it was great. So don't feel shame on liking what he did before all that shit happened. So you're going to go with Malenko and Benoit?
Yep.
Underrated tag team?
Yep.
Okay. Nate, do you have anything on that?
No, we already talked about it.
All right. Next question for Kyle. The first match you remember seeing. The first wrestling match you remember seeing.
I don't remember who it was as far as who he was wrestling against. But I do know the very first wrestling that I ever saw at any point was I saw a match with the Ultimate Warrior with my grandmother.
Speak to me, warrior.
As many people know, Ultimate Warrior was my grandmother's favorite fucking wrestler. She 100% believed that it was real. As people who watch football and are serious about football and scream at the TV, that was my grandmother.
And that is a great introduction to wrestling, my friend.
Oh my god!
To be with someone who is passionate about it.
She used to call the ref a dumbass if the heel was pulling the hair of the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, she used to scream and holler. I mean, it was like, what the hell am I watching? Here is this fucking guy with fucking face paint and tassels.
That's why as a kid, I loved, Aaron will agree with this, I loved watching wrestling with our step-grandfather. Our stepsister's grandpa. I loved watching it with him because that dude was into it, like it was real.
Yep. And I love to this day, like, watching wrestling with fans and people who, don't really watch it a lot, but like my mother. My mother's a huge Goldberg fan, always has been. And like for me, it was cool, like, because she hardly ever watches it, but like if Goldberg is back and does something, like I'm like, Mom, check this out. And
well, you know who our grandma's favorite wrestler of all time is?
Who's that?
Mr. McMahon. Our grandma would be like, what's Mr. McMahon going to do this week? That's all she cared about, was whatever Mr. McMahon was going to do.
Like, I remember.
She also would say that Kurt Angle's a good-looking fella. I can remember Betty Bully saying that a lot of times. She'd be like, she wanted to know what Mr. McMahon was up to.
And where's
she
that
liked
Kurt Angle?
Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young because they're old. And then she would be like, Kurt Angle's a good-looking guy.
Like, I remember, like, with Ric Flair, it was funny, like, we would watch wrestling, and, like, every single time I'm, like, Ric Flair would come out, my dad would be like, hey, to my mom, like, there's your husband. And she'd be like, that Ric Flair. He's annoying.
Okay. There's...
Oh, real quick, sorry. One other thing, like... my parents told me a while ago that like when I was really young and stuff, like they watched wrestling a lot with my grandmother, and every time Brother Love came out, I would get fucking pissed. There's something about Brother Love that would fucking just like my face would get fucking beat red, and I fucking hated Brother Love.
There's 3 more questions for Kyle.
All right, I'm ready.
Really long show. The next question, Kyle, is, you ready?
Yep.
What is your favorite promotion of all time? Favorite company. That's what I'm getting at. Favorite promotion of all time.
As much as I am the guy that is the ECW mark or whatever, I gotta be honest that I am a huge WCW fan. Especially in the early 90s, I enjoyed Nitro better because you got to see, I don't want to say better matches, but like the undercard was just so much better. Now the main event, but the undercard to me was better.
Okay. So you would put WCW over WWF?
Yes.
All right. 8. You still
WWF.
have 5. All right. It's fine if you want to answer that one. We got 2 more for Kyle.
For me, it's WWF. You know that.
Okay. Yeah. It's fine. Settle down for a minute. Question 5 for Kyle is, and this is the way I wrote it, Austin or The Rock? Question mark.
I'm
Gotta pick
gonna
one.
go with Austin.
One you keep, the other one you shoot into space, and he's never heard from again.
I'm gonna go with Austin.
Okay.
I like The Rock, but okay. I'm gonna go with Austin professionally and The Rock personally.
I've never met both. So
all I know is that Austin did allegedly beat some women.
What?
What?
That's fine, man. So
No, it's not fine. It's not fine to beat women.
I didn't say it was fine to beat women.
I'm just.
Jesus Christ.
We should clarify.
What?
We are not endorsing beating women at all.
Mark for edit.
Oh fuck! What has happened?
Nate was like tagging out. He was like swooping down, not answering questions. Nate,
What?
Rock or Austin?
Hey, you told him he could answer if he wanted to.
Nate, Rock or Austin?
Which one am I keeping?
Yeah, like I'm telling you, these guys are on the level they're at now. You gotta cut one, Rock or Austin.
As a promoter, to be honest, I'm cutting Austin. I'm cutting Austin and keeping Rock. And it has nothing to do with a wife beatery either. It is that I think that long term, Rock was a bigger. Austin was like he is the biggest draw in wrestling history. He sold the most merchandise, etc., etc. But Austin also, I mean, if you look at his run on top, Austin was hurt a lot.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at it,
he sold a lot of fucking T-shirts, and I'm not denying that. But
yeah,
The
Rock was like 20 years,
and he was consistent, and he was definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, he was definitely a more fan-pleasing entertainer, and had a more consistent run at the top. So I'm shooting Stone Cold into space and keeping The Rock.
All right.
See you, Austin.
Huh?
It was me, Austin.
Okay. The last question I have for Kyle, and Nate, you can answer this too, is should Coco Beware be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Coco?
Should Coco Beware be in the WWE Hall of Fame? Because every time you bitch about somebody being in that fucking god-awful, stupid Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame or any Hall of Fame, people go, what about J. James Dudley or Coco Beware. They always bitch about those two. It's like, you know what, motherfucker? James Dudley was a WWE employee, or was a WWF employee, or WWF employee, and Coco Beware was a goddamn good hand and made a lot of people look good. So why shouldn't he be in the fucking Hall of Fame?
Exactly.
Or then they'll be like, well, it's like, shut the fuck up. The WWE Hall of Fame's cool.
The only people that should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame is Drew Carey, Kid Rock, Donald Trump, and any other. Is Arnold Schwarzenegger in the fucking Hall of Fame?
Probably.
Well, fuck him too. He doesn't. Fuck the celebrity wing. Unless they've had something directly involved in pro wrestling. Like, I'm alright with Cyndi Lauper.
I will say this. Yes. Coco Beware should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Because
He made a bunch of people.
he was a good wrestler, a good hand, a loyal soldier. I don't ever recall seeing a bad Coco Beware match. I've seen short Coco Beware matches that were passable, but I don't recall ever seeing a shitty Coco Beware match. And you're from worker and charisma standpoint, Coco Beware should be in the Hall of Fame just like fucking Tito Santana should be in the Hall of Fame. They're both great workers. They were a big part of the show. Yes. Yeah. Yes, they should be in the Hall of Fame. Coco should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But,
I'm glad that you both agree with me.
But I'm going to put a but in there. A but.
You had a big butt. That was fine.
As Aziz Ansari would say, a but. I'm going to put this in there. It is a shame that Coco Beware is in the Hall of Fame before Bam Bam Bigelow.
It is. But
like there's silly little things like that. You know what I mean? Like there's stupid little things like that where you're like, yes, that guy should be in the Hall of Fame, but why the fuck isn't this guy in the Hall of Fame?
All I will say is that at least Coco Beware was a pro wrestler. Drew Carey is in the fucking Hall of Fame, and Bam Bam's not.
Right.
Let's talk about it for a minute.
All right, Aaron, these are your 6 fucking questions for me.
Okay. Gotta pick.
Oh.
1998 to 1997 or 19 out.
You fucked it up.
Sorry. I fucked it up.
I've got to pick. Start from there. I've got to pick.
You gotta pick 1988 and 1989 or 1996 and 1997. WWF for the entire year.
96,
88 and
96, 97.
Or really?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because as if I'm going back.
Now did I stumble over my words when I said it?
No, you said I have to pick 88, 89, right?
Yeah.
Or
88 and 89.
Or 96 and 97.
7. Yeah.
96 and 97. No question. That was the most exciting, as much of a wrestling fan as I was before then. 96, 97, WWF is the most exciting time in the history of wrestling for me. as a fan. I fucking love. Like, that is the time. Like, if you told me WWE Network is going to have the entire run of Raw and the pay-per-views and any shows available to you, period, in our library to watch, house shows, Raw, there was no SmackDown, but Superstars, Livewire, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to say you've only got 2 years to pick, brother, what are you going to pay your $9.99 for? 96, 97 is my pick, hands down. End of story.
See, I agree with it.
That is my favorite time in wrestling.
I agree with it, but I also will say that I love.
Not that 88 and 89 weren't fucking fantastic. I'm not saying that.
88 and 89.
But you made me pick Satan, and I picked.
And why I agree with it is, and why I picked those years is, you look at wrestling, you look at it this way. When I was a kid, like when I was like a little baby, like, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm stupid and shit, you know? It's like 88. How do I say this? Like, Hulkamania started in like 84. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was born in 83.
Right.
So from like 83 to like 89, I knew nothing. When you're in that age frame, you're a stupid idiot. You don't fucking know nothing. You're just dumb. You're just sitting in a fucking cart, and you're like, people are going to throw food in my face. Like, Hulk Hogan was like the first wrestler that I knew, and I loved that guy. And then you got into like the other era, I asked, with the 95 to 97 or whatever. It was my childhood, and then it was like my adulthood. And I'm going to agree with you that the 96 through 97 is the best.
Absolutely. Hands down. As much as I'm not hating. I'm not hating, and I'm older than Aaron. And
well, obviously you're older than me.
Like, my first wrestling memory is the year you were born. So, but 96, 97 is my favorite era in wrestling. If I had to pick one that I can only watch the shit from WWF in this era, that's it right there.
I like 88 and 89 though. Like WrestleMania 5. It's fun to me.
It is, but 96, 97 has better booking because there's more to the booking.
Okay.
And, again, you're putting yourself in your moment in wrestling. And for me, having paid attention in my brain to wrestling since 1983, 96 and 97, man, shit's changing. Things are different, and you're wrapping your brain around a new way of looking at wrestling, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Kyle, what's your answer?
I'm probably going to say, in a whole, like 96, 97 as well.
How could you not?
I'm also, and I know
because you put it in a hole.
I know that it's going to be kind of like, what the fuck? But in the event that everyone else has picked 96, 97, I'm going to go 2002, 2003.
I have no idea what happened during there.
I do, and I see what you're saying, because 2002, 2003, Kyle, I see what you mean, because I look at 02 and 03 the way that I look at 93 in the WWE. It was a time of transition.
it was a time of transition, but also in 2002, 2003, you had Undertaker as Booger Red. You had Ric Flair back. You had Shawn Michaels coming back. You had Triple H. You had Brock Lesnar. You had Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, it was the ushering in of a new era. You're out of the Attitude Era, and you're into this whatever the fuck this is.
The ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression.
All right. Next question.
Okay.
Is it time for the next question?
Ready?
Okay. Nate and Kyle, was your least favorite promotion ever?
My least favorite promotion ever.
Ever. I know my answer. I'm asking you guys.
And we're talking like promotion that had some serious exposure, right?
Just the worst wrestling promotion you've ever seen. Mainstream wrestling promotion you've ever seen.
Okay, you said mainstream. Because, I mean, I've seen a lot of shitty indie promotions. Mainstream, XPW.
XPW was pretty bad.
That was fucking garbage. Like, you take ECW, which, if you remove it from any era that it actually existed, sucks. And then you make your little shitty version of it. XPW was fucking garbage. The only thing that XPW ever had that was worth a fucking penny was the fact that they had New Jack in their promotion for a millisecond. That's it. I love New Jack. Everybody knows I love New Jack. New Jack's a fucking shit. Other than that, XPW is wrestling toilet paper. It was garbage.
My least favorite wrestling professional wrestling promotion of all time is AWA.
No, XPW is much worse than AWA.
It's fine, man. But AWA was boring as fuck.
And the reason I say that is because I can sit down and watch Kurt Angle.
I don't consider XPW wrestling promotion.
I do. It had exposure. It had attention. People talked about it. It had merchandise. It was fucking hot garbage. And the reason I say XPW over AWA, because I agree with you. A lot of AWA is fucking boring as shit. But AWA also was a world-class promotion and has some things on it other than New Jack that entertain me. Nick Bockwinkel versus Kurt Hennig. Or, I'm just saying, like, XPW is such garbage that I cannot agree that AWA is the worst.
Yeah. Yes, is buzzed. ADW.
Mine is going to be Chikara.
Chikara?
Mm-hmm.
See, and it's funny too, because I should agree with you, because I don't like a lot of unrealistic, like, you know, the ants and some shit like that. But I think the only reason that Chikara kind of rises above XPW for me, and I know I'm like you guys are both saying promotions like XPW. The reason that I say XPW is the worst and over Chikara is
I like Chikara because they let fucking the one-man gang dance like a team.
Well, it's not just that, but there are elements on a non-comedic level, Kyle. There are at least elements of Chikara that are lucha, if that makes sense. Like, and I'm not saying that. I mean, there's a lot of shit that Shikara did that is fucking silly. Okay, and I get it. You know, they had the fucking hand grenade, and you know that kind of shit, which I fucking hate. I do. I really hate it. I do. But they have a lot of cool lucha elements too that I think that supersedes. And again, like I'm saying with Aaron's AWA analogy, XPW as a whole professional wrestling promotion is hot fucking garbage. It's terrible. I'm sorry, guys. I got passionate about that, but it was just,
No.
I fucking
Sorry.
hate XPW. XPW is the worst wrestling promotion in the history of wrestling. Period. I would watch chaotic pro wrestling from fucking California because at least it had something that was of merit other than New Jack.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask my next question.
It was your question. I'm sorry, I got passionate about
my
it.
next question was, what's the worst thing you've ever seen in wrestling?
The worst thing I've ever seen in wrestling? XPW.
Shut up. Okay. So you answered that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say Katie. A lot of people say Katie Vick.
No, XPW is worse than that.
Guys, stop.
It's bad.
Stop.
But anytime they have a, I keep going back to it, but it's anytime they do a miscarriage angle, like I don't fucking need to see that.
Okay, I'm gonna change my opinion here because XPW. I said that as a joke because I went on my rant before. Right. But Aaron, you and I discussed this a couple of podcasts back. And Kyle, I'm going to get you on board with this.
I'm just going to ask my question.
Well,
man.
Hush, you did, and I'm going to answer it.
I have 3 more questions.
That's fine. But your question is what? Your question was what? What is the worst thing in wrestling?
Sure.
Well, you have the question. Read it.
I deleted it.
Oh. Anyway, Aaron's question was, what is the worst thing you've seen in wrestling? And I said XPW, which was joke because I just went on a rant about XPW. But really,
they deserved it.
But really, and I think both of you can agree with this, and anybody listening can agree with this, the worst thing you've ever seen in wrestling is anytime something was a worked shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. I just watched an episode of Nitro just after Vince Russo took over. Buff Bagwell comes out and he says, I'm not going to do what the guys who are writing this crap tell me to do. And then, after saying the guys who are writing this crap tell me to do, Creative Control comes out and beats him up. So, in the same segment, in the same fucking segment, this guy is telling me I'm not going to do anything the guys that are writing this crap tell me to do, and then I'm supposed to believe that these two guys beat him up.
Yeah, I told you about that.
Do you see the stupid in that? That is the stupidest fucking shit.
Because you're right because it's
so
silly because it's like
hey,
everything else you've seen on the show is fake and bullshit, but this is real.
Yes, fuck that. It's so stupid. What?
Hey, who's wrestling's greatest family?
Wrestling's greatest family?
Yeah.
Well, and this is serious, honest to God, this is not even a sarcastic answer.
Nope.
Wrestling's
greatest family.
Wrestling's greatest family is the McMahon family. Because whose vision has put more money in more people's pockets than that family? I mean, wrestling's a business, right? Who's Walmart's greatest family? The Waltons. They've put the most money in people's fucking. Who's retail's greatest family? The Waltons. They've put more money in people's pockets than anybody. So yes, the McMahons.
I'm gonna go with the Guerreros.
Well, you're wrong, Kyle. It's the McMahons. So now let's go on to my next question.
I think Aaron's checked out.
I haven't checked out. I was just telling you you're wrong, man. This is the McMahons in the wrestling business. The next question is, who would you consider the greatest champion ever? Not personal favorite or preference. Who is the greatest champion of all time? I can tell you my answer. Do you want to know my answer?
Not before mine. You're asking me.
Yeah, not before mine.
The greatest champion of all time. Like, I'm not talking about your question, the way that I'm reading your question. I'm not talking about how much money he made.
No, I'm talking
about how many T-shirts he sold.
Oh no,
the guy
that's
that
not.
No. But don't fucking add A's and B's and shit to your question.
Hold on, no. I'm stopping you because you said not how many T-shirts he sold, not how many whatever he sold. I'm saying it's the other way. How many T-shirts did he sell? How many whatever did he sell? Not your personal preference. This guy is the greatest champion of all time because of how many T-shirts he sold and how many whatever he sold and whatever he did in the business.
I mean, if I'm talking about a guy that held a championship belt in his hand or on his waist or on his shoulder, it's hard to pick, and it's a tie. And you're asking me the question, so this is my answer. There are 3 guys that hold a tie.
There's no tie.
I mean, it's my answer.
Okay.
So if I'm talking about guys, who's the greatest champion ever?
Hulk Hogan.
He's there.
If you don't say Hulk Hogan, you're wrong.
No, I'm not. Because your question was not. Now hold on. It's Hulk Hogan, it's Ric Flair, and it's Lou Thez. Because you didn't ask me which champion put the asses in the most seats. Because I look at champions in different ways. Like, Ric Flair held that title, and it meant something like this. And Hulk Hogan held this title, and it meant something like this. But Lou fucking Thez, before any of us even knew what a fucking wrestling champion were, I mean, who are we to say? But when people from, like, old fucks talk to me about wrestling champions, they talk to me about Lou Thez. So it's Lou Thez, it's Hulk Hogan, it's Ric Flair. For me. You asked me the question, that's my answer.
Okay.
And Kyle hits his vape.
I do. It's getting deep.
But that's my answer. It's Thez, Hogan, Flair. Because I don't have a way personally to divide them. Like, to me,
I have.
Don't get impatient. You asked the question, you got an answer. Dead air's not good.
I'll give that to
It's
you.
the goddamn question then.
What?
Jesus Christ.
What's he got to do with it?
Well, apparently he fills up the air. I'm gonna
I agree
ask,
with you, Nate. I think that you're right on the money. I mean,
It's a hard,
if I had to
Aaron,
pick a clear
Aaron,
cut,
it's a hard question to answer, like,
if
just like that.
to me, if I had to pick a clear cut, like first person, it would be Hulk Hogan, because of the fact that he was the guy that like the WWF was built on.
Okay, but
Like WrestleMania.
But-
No, I agree. I agree
but
with you. I'm just saying.
Ric
Ric
Flair,
Flair-
if I'm looking at it as Ric Flair, I mean, Hulk Hogan, yes.
the greatest goddamn world champion of all time is Hulk Hogan.
But you asked me the question.
Well, I have one more question I'm gonna ask.
All right.
You better record it when I ask this question. And then I'm gonna turn it off. Because y'all are dumb as fuck.
I love this fucking show. Okay, go.
Are you recording?
I never stop recording, my brother.
Okay. This is the last question I have.
Jeez.
And it's for Nate Maxon.
He's here. Present.
All right. You ready?
Ready.
And you have to give an answer to this question.
Jesus Christ, you call this out longer than
Shut up, part-time. It don't fucking matter.
All right, Aaron, your last question to me on this
Hold on.
fucking fantastic. You know what? A lot of the guys that listen to this show, especially a lot of the people that have recently joined on to the cult of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, say they love the length of the show because it is, you know, it's something they listen to at work. Like, for a long time, I was like, oh.
Girthy.
So, hey, this is a long show. Good. It's for our listeners. You guys,
Exactly.
the whole fucking work shift.
I know the feeling, guys. I'm right there with you.
So, my brother, what is your last
Hold
question to
on.
me?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Oh. Well, you were just complaining that we were rambling on, and now you're making me wait.
It was super long. Okay. What's the one thing, Nate? Are you listening?
I am.
What is the one thing positive that you can say about Ronnie Garvin?
Oh, fuck.
Do you need me to ask you again?
No.
He's got a mother and a father.
Nice people, I guess.
I didn't ask Kyle. I asked Nate.
There has to be a backstory here for new listeners that haven't listened to the whole library of the show yet. I fucking hate Ronnie Garvin. He's like one of my least favorite wrestlers of all time. I know a lot of people like him, but you know what? They're just misguided. A positive thing I can say about Ronnie Garvin is he did have a decent feud with Randy Savage in ICW.
All right.
That's it. Other than that, I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I'm not trying to be mean to the person, Ronnie Garvin. But as a professional wrestler, not a fucking fan. The guy didn't do anything for me at all. at all. Ever. And I think David Arquette was a better world champion than Ronnie Garvin. At least David Arquette had people talking. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, his feud with Savage and ICW's good. It's decent. And I'm glad people like him or whatever. But I don't know. I don't see it. Like, take your trucker hat and move along, Ronnie. Bye-bye. And with that being said, unless you two have anything else for this long-ass episode of the show, which, quite frankly, has been great. I love you guys. This is a great podcast, and I'm glad that I have the best two podcast co-hosts a guy could possibly fucking have. I love this show. I love this show, and I love doing this show, and I love doing it with you two.
We love doing it with you.
What are you laughing about?
I'm not gonna say what he just said.
Oh,
okay. Well,
I love doing it with you two.
So I'm not saying it.
There you go. I love doing this show. It's great.
I'm not saying what you people said. Not gonna say it.
But our next show is going to be fun, and I'm going to have to text Aaron the details.
The deets.
The deets. But it is going to be...
I'll say a lot of stuff.
In the honor of WWE's current shitty draft that they're doing, with shitty rules, it's stupid.
How the fuck do they draft people that are already on the show?
Well, that and Fox gets a draft.
Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing. You want to
If
hear
we don't like this tag team, we'll just break them up.
They,
We're going to do our own draft. We're going to start a wrestling promotion from scratch. And it's going to be a wrestling promotion that is an all-time wrestling promotion. Because we're going to be able to pick people from any era. I mean, we're going to go all the way back to Hackenschmidt, all the way up to The Fiend. We're going to pick our top 20 draft picks. And in those top 20 draft picks, we are also going to pick who would be our first world champion and who would be our first tag team champions. It's that simple. You have all of time in professional wrestling to pick from. You got to pick 20 guys to start, and a world champion, and some tag team champions. I think it'll be a good show.
Yeah, that is actually, it's fucking weird. It's actually, mine is going to be Brutus Beefcake as the world champion and the tag team champions. Both of them.
Hashtag Beefcake.
Hashtag Beefcake.
And he could be the tag champions. Yes, no, who knows where these two personalities of Beefcake will go.
Fuck off.
All right, hold on.
Well, I'm playing Tootsie right now.
Play two Tootsie, 3 chorus, you understand? And the third chorus, I whistle.
All
Aaron,
right, well,
Aaron.
guys, it's been fun.
Aaron, say goodbye to your fans, to your listeners.
If he's talking about fucking British Beefcake and goddamn... Fuck off.
That was a good goodbye, Aaron. Kyle joining us this time around.
It's been fun.
We have enjoyed it. Say goodbye to your listeners.
Bye, listeners. I love you guys.
I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And don't forget to join our Facebook group and join the fun. Participate in the show.
I think Aaron just passed out and hit the table.
Tootsmond with Tootsie said goodbye. Aaron said goodbye. Kyle said goodbye. And this is Nate saying goodbye to our listeners. We'll see you next week on the best fucking pro wrestling podcast, you can listen to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Can we get somebody to check on Aaron? I think he's dead.
Ha! He did. Goodbye,
He's
Tootsie.
dead.
Bye-bye, Tootsie.
Away from you, you don't know just how sad it makes me. Kiss me, pretty, and then, hey,
Hey!
you get over.